Drivers and Danica, start your engines!
Pull those belts down tight one more time. Warm up those tires. Hit your marks and let's go racing, boys and girls. NASCAR, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, NHRA, and local dirt track and drag strip racing talk. This is the fastest hour in radio.
Where'd you go? Where's your home? How'd you end up all alone? Can you hear me now? Hear me.
Here's your host, Steve West and Dustin Harmer, with producer John Myers.
Special 2-hour edition of the fastest hour in radio this weekend. It is July 4th weekend, and hope everything is going well with you. From all of us here at the fastest hour in radio, happy Independence Day.
Yes. Happy Independence Day.
All well with you?
Yeah.
All things considered?
Yeah. No, man, I am rocking out. Life is good.
Very good. As said in the intro, producer John Myers.
Good morning.
How are you?
Doing great.
Yeah? Ready for the long weekend?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
positively.
When you can actually put your producer in the intro, you're bigger than life at that point.
I feel that way now.
It's called Made It in the World.
Yeah. I just need that shirt that says made.
All righty. Plenty to get to because it's 2 hours long. Plus, we got a dirt report here that Dustin has worked up, so plenty to get to when it comes to that. But we also want to let you know that there are plenty of ways for you to contact us, most easily by phone. If you're listening to the live edition on Saturday morning from 7 a.m. until 9 a.m., there is the replay on Sunday morning from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m.
Who's up that early on a Sunday?
You'd be amazed.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Not me.
9411011, toll-free 866-551-9933 if you'd like to call. If you're one of the more shy types, but you can't, you like social media, you can get on there and you can contact us there as well. Facebook.com/TheFastestHourInRadio.
On Twitter, @FastestHour, Instagram, @FastestHour, and of course, you got the replay tomorrow morning, but we've also got our replays at any time of the day, whenever it's convenient to you, on our YouTube channel. Simply look up The Fastest Hour in Radio, click the subscribe button, so that way you get that weekly email letting you know every time we put up a new show.
Yeah. All kinds of cool ways to listen to us now, too.
Yeah, tons.
Obviously, you've got Superstation 101, so you go to 101.1 FM on your dial, but we also added, for those of you in the Birmingham area who may be having a hard time getting a hold of us maybe over the mountain, check out 95.3 FM. That's up, it's running, and check it out. Maybe it'll help you grab a little bit stronger signal, so look for that.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Plus, you can go on to TuneIn. We've always talked about TuneIn app. You can go up there and look up Superstation 101 WIDE, but you know what? We got our very own app.
Yeah, just
we
search it.
have an app.
Yes.
Moving on up.
Moving on up.
Look up WIDE Superstation 101. You can do that either for your iTunes or your Google Play.
Yes.
And once you go in there and it comes up with a big Superstation 101 logo. Immediately you can hit play and start listening there. I have crystal clear. Sounds fantastic.
Yes, I listened. Actually, as a matter of fact, I listened a little bit yesterday to the Michael Hart Show.
There you go.
And I listened the other day to the Michael Hart Show through the app, and I was just amazed at just how clear it is. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, and then also you can go on there and you can play around and find all about all the other things that are going on with us here at Superstation 101 as well.
I didn't do that. But
yeah, there is that menu. You need to look for it a little bit. It's up in the upper left-hand corner, but yeah, go find it because it's pretty good stuff. So plenty of ways to do that. And then we find out, as we get ready to get into racing here, and the racing started with the Camping World Truck Series, we find out that there's a local guy that has a connection that John knew all about. So, John, tell us about this local connection.
Oh, the local connection is the singer of the national anthem that opened the Driving for Lyman 200.
Okay.
His name is Bo Steele.
Yeah.
He's from Double Springs, Alabama.
Nice.
And
up in northwest Alabama, know it well.
Exactly. And the way I know him, or know of him, is he's cousins with my wife.
Oh, so you're actually somewhat related to him.
Somewhat.
All right, well, all right. Since we are
just hold on to that
in such a patriotic weekend of being happy July 4th and happy Independence Day, it would seem quite appropriate, being a racing program, that we should also open up with the national anthem. For our national anthem, please welcome Bo Steele. Local guy done good. Nice. Like it a lot. That's good
on
stuff.
the other note, he is in a band called Steel with his longtime friend Ben.
Okay.
They've been singing country music for quite a few years, since they were 14.
Nice. Very well done. All right.
Yeah.
I feel like we started off the show in the proper way.
Yeah, and we started it off the way that it should be now.
That's right. Welcome to racing.
Yes.
All right, gentlemen and ladies, start your engines. So the racing weekend does get underway with the Camping World Truck Series running a Saturday evening event. It was at Gateway Motorsports Park near St. Louis, Missouri. The series has another new winner, and therefore another new chase contender.
Yes.
Camping World Truck Series is doing it right.
Well, they at least are.
Xfinity,
Not so much.
we'll talk about it later. Anyway, that was pretty much all overshadowed by what actually kind of appeared to, masquerade as a fight. Christopher Bell ends up winning in victory lane. His first win of the year marks the 50th win, by the way, for Kyle Busch Motorsports, tied for the most all-time in that series with Roush Fenway Racing. That, by the way, is also the third win for Kyle Busch Motorsports this season, and with all due respect to Christopher Bell, congratulations to you, but dude, you're not the biggest story of the night.
No, you're not.
The final caution flag of the night came out as John West Townley and Spencer Gallagher get into each other in turns 1 and 2, and that, it ended both of their nights. And it prompted what almost kind of sort of looked like a fight.
That was a dance session.
Yeah, okay, we'll go with that. Gallagher was out of his truck. He was standing beside it when he was jumped by John West Townley, knocked them both down to the pavement, upon which both were able to then get back to their feet. Not really sure how that worked, but neither was able to attempt, much less land a punch at that point in time. So Gallagher pulled a weird kind of karate, kung fu wrestling move, drops Townley to the pavement, but then using another wrestling move, Townley headlocks Gallagher while at the same time getting back on his own feet. And then he was able to land a few punches to Gallagher's face and head before finally pretty much they were worn out and it was broken up.
John West Townley DDT'd Spencer Gallagher. When are you going to hear that at a racetrack?
Yeah, I tuned in to watch the race and saw a fight and then a dance break out.
The greatest thing this week.
I would have liked to have called it a fight.
Well, and then that's what I said. I said, as a matter of fact, on social media, I said, "Oh, look, Dancing with the Stars NASCAR edition."
Exactly.
Because that's exactly what it looked like. These guys didn't want to fight, but I don't know.
Somehow felt like they needed to?
It was like that scene from
It just goes to show you how grueling.
Remember
Yes.
the Catalina wine mixer?
It goes to show you how grueling going around the track is,
It
and how
does.
much it takes out of you.
It does.
Well, yeah.
But at the same time, if I'm in a fight, man, I'm landing some punches.
Absolutely. I'm not going to jump on your back and then try and get you down onto the ground. I'm coming in with a haymaker right at the start.
Yeah, I'm gonna I'm a duck and dive. I'm not gonna grab you and hold you and embrace you tightly. That didn't work.
I did think that the move to slam John West Townley back onto the track on his back was a pretty good move. He just never followed it up.
Yeah, we saw some spears and some DDTs, and we saw some elbows, but really just nothing
All we
else.
were missing was the ring with the turnbuckle.
And
Buggles.
I knew that was going to happen. The reason was because earlier in the race they had kind of gotten together before, so they were around each other all night, and we see that happen all
sure.
the time when
You
you're
get
around
into
the same guy and you're
get ticked off, and
then your truck is destroyed. But the greatest thing this week was Jim Ross. They had Jim Ross, who was an announcer for WWE.
Right.
They had him voice over the fight. He was like, "And that's a slobber knocker."
Yikes.
I got to share that on the YouTube page.
All right. So
Or on
once we get all the wrestling moves done and we get back out
There
on
was a winner.
dealing with racing, Christopher Bell, again, congratulations to him. Sorry you got so overshadowed. You were followed by Ben Rhodes, then Daniel Hemrick, Johnny Sauter, Eric Jones, John Hunter Nemechek, not to be confused with John West Townley, Armand Quiroga Jr., Kaz Gralla. Well, you hear about him every once in a while. Ben Kennedy and Timothy Peters making up your top 10. Gallagher and Townley were credited with 22nd and 23rd, respectively. I'm not really sure how. Now there are 5 total winners in the trucks. You got William Byron, 3 wins, Matt Crafton, Johnny Sauter, John Hunter Nemechek, and now Christopher Bell. And only 3 spots are left for non-winners. Those who are inside there are Timothy Peters, Daniel Hemrick, and Ben Kennedy. Tyler Reddick and Ben Rhodes are just inside of the top 10, but just outside of the chase contention looking in.
This is going to be extremely interesting over the next couple of weeks, especially with the fact that these guys, trying to get into this chase. This chase is a lot tighter with 8.
Yeah.
So we're actually going to fill this one up if the season keeps going.
It's looking that way.
It is. So it's going to be extremely interesting where now it's not just getting that one win. You're going to need multiple wins.
And we get to say this as well, as opposed to the Xfinity series where we tend to see moonlighters all the time, there are fewer opportunities for moonlighting in the Camping World Truck Series. It's not like there aren't any. Yeah. We see them, but there are fewer.
Yes.
So there's a much better chance of it.
Makes me feel so good.
Absolutely. Night racing, which is what we saw last week.
Yes.
And dancing and almost fighting. We're going to see that again tonight when it comes to the Coke Zero 400. It is officially called. Used to be called the Firecracker 400.
Yes.
I'd love to be able to just call it the Coke. Matter of fact, let's officially, right here on the Fastest Hour in Radio, change the name to the Coke Zero Firecracker 400.
I like it.
And Bobby out in Roebuck, you wanted to talk about racing under the lights. What do you think about it?
Well, I like the night racing under the lights. First off, I love you guys' shows.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Doing this morning. Yeah, getting the smoker going, do some barbecue.
But I'll come to your place.
We'll be over about 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah.
You're welcome, guys, anytime. but I used to like, when I was growing up as a kid, I'm about 50 now, but when I was growing up as a kid, it always used to be like 10 o'clock in the morning, my time, I guess 11 o'clock in Daytona. But, we'd run that thing in the morning and get it over with, and everybody could enjoy, the rest of the day.
Right.
And I love night racing. Don't get me wrong, I think it's better on a short track, short track night racing.
Gotcha.
But I think the NASCAR series, some night racing is good, but it seems like we're falling into a pattern where it's getting to be more and more of night racing and that also affects the way the track is, because at night, the track's cool, you don't get sliding around kind of stuff. But I just want to know what you guys think about it, and I'll hang up with it.
All right, Bobby, thank you so much. I don't have too big of a problem with night racing once you get into the summertime.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is when I was much younger, and he's talking about when he was 10 or 11, I remember between about 10 and 15, that's when I started getting, right about that time I got a job, and once I turned 16 I wasn't able to spend as much time out there. But we had a place out on Logan Martin Lake. My dad bought this little trailer. It wasn't all that expensive. It was just this weekend place. It wasn't a big palace.
Right.
But we also had this used 16-foot speedboat. So we go out on Logan Martin Lake and we would, water ski and just have a good time. And we would find ourselves out at Talladega on a summer weekend back when they were running Talladega in June and July. Well, Talladega's got no lights. Welcome to Alabama in June and July. I mean, it was hot coming in this morning, and the sun isn't even all the way up.
A little warm.
Okay? It can get to the point where it's almost stifling.
Yes.
Okay? So you get these southern races that are happening in the middle of summer. I don't necessarily have a problem with you putting it at night because it's a little bit more tolerable for the fans. But I can understand where he's coming from, where you may be in the springtime when the temperatures are cooler, or in the fall when the temperatures are cooler. Maybe you could go a little bit more daytime, but you got to understand that NASCAR is also dealing with television contracts, and these networks, whether they're Fox or NBC now for the past couple of years, they like to have some of these more quote-unquote marquee races put into prime time because they're actually getting some good ratings out of them.
Well, we're seeing some great racing at night anyway. I mean,
True.
You look at any of the races and they're at night, and it's setting up to be one heck of a show because, like he said, they're not sliding all over the place. There's a lot more speed, a lot more cool air keeping those engines, and you're getting a lot more horsepower there. So it's an all-for-all, lack of better saying. I love night racing.
I do. It's odd to see it at such a large facility like a Daytona. I'll say that.
is.
I've gotten used to it over time because we've seen it now for several years, but it's kind of this novelty of 2.5 miles of high banked super speedway with lights on them.
Yeah.
And I think to some extent he may be right. If you look at a Richmond or you look at a Bristol or even a Martinsville even, which I'm not even certain that they can run at night there, but still, I think it does translate somehow to short tracks a little bit better. And then you think about the Charlottes. It's kind of fun to see it at Charlotte, but once you get into the bigger ones, you start to get a little bit more separation out there. Yeah, I think it works a little bit better when you get the closer racing, which we get it at Daytona because of the restrictor plates.
I think if you look at across the entire spectrum of racing, I think the one night race, of course, that stands out to everybody that's a race fan is going to be that Bristol night race, just because it's that bull ring. It's like going out to Talladega short track or to any Penton or Huntsville or any of those tracks, and you just see them. There's constantly something going on.
Sure.
There's no separation. Yeah. There's all kinds of things. Everything's in motion. It's under the lights. It's just that thing that it's like euphoria.
Yeah. I think it translates better to short tracks myself, but I don't mind it at a Daytona, especially in the summertime.
Yeah, especially like, this weekend with it being 4th of July weekend, you're expecting a good fireworks show and everything. You're going to get a great race experience too. You're going to get a fireworks show on Daytona.
And Daytona's going to put up one heck of a fireworks show after the race tonight.
It's a definite.
Let's go back to last weekend, Sunday morning. It's kind of odd that we get to talk about the NHRA so quick. Got things underway with the Summit Racing Equipment Nationals Finals in Norwalk, Ohio. Sean Langdon grabbing his second win in a row. Bested J.R. Todd's run with a hole shot win. Ended up with a 3.846 ETA at 319.75 miles per hour. So that's your top fuel. Ron Capps beating Courtney Force in Funny Car. We were talking in the After the Show last week about the fact that we haven't heard much from the Forces this year, unfortunately. She made it to the finals. Courtney did in Funny Car. Congratulations to her. Unfortunately, Ron Capps beat her out, running a 3.956 ETA or elapsed time at 317.49 miles per hour.
That's what we needed to see, though. She didn't get a win, but she was there in the end.
She's stepping it up.
They're starting to change things up over there at Team Force. So that was definitely that's a win in itself for them to
in
be
a lot of
able to
ways.
get
Yeah,
that
you're
far.
right. And now Dad John needs to figure this out because I started looking back through the brackets and he made it to the finals, the top 16, but he was out in like the first or second round, and he's got to figure out what it is that's going on with his cars as well. Pro Stock ranks, Jason Line back to dominating again, beating Greg Anderson 6.678 elapsed time with a 208.42 mile per hour run. Bob Rahim red lighted in Pro Modified, so it nullified his time that gave the win to Bill Glidden. He ran a 5.893 elapsed time, 245.63 miles per hour. And Pro Stock Motorcycle also ran your winner, Eddie Krawick. He won over Andrew Hines, 6.926 ETA, 194.72 miles per hour. It's after the two had the exact same reaction time. Krawick able to win in what ultimately became a photo finish. It's amazing how close these things can make, man.
I actually got a chance to watch some of this, and I think the best racing of the weekend was that, and with Langdon beating out J.R. Todd. Those were my two favorites of the day.
Good stuff. Updated points continue to show Doug Coletta out front in top fuel, got a 69-point advantage over Antron Brown. Steve Torrance, who didn't run this past weekend, now 163 back. Brittany Force and Tony Schumacher also in the top 577 and 280 points back, respectively. Ron Capps got a 130-point lead over Courtney Force in Funny Car. Jack Beckman is now third, 143 down, so the second-place finish effectively for Courtney Force jumped her up to second place in points. That's a good thing. Del Worsham and Tommy Johnson claiming the rest of the top five, 204 and 216 points back. Jason Line, as mentioned, continues to dominate in Pro Stock. His latest win vaults him to now a 115-point lead over Greg Anderson. Then you got Bo Butner, Alan Johnson, and Drew Skillman in the top five, but all of them are more than 500 points back each, so I'm going to stop detailing how many points back they are because they can't see the lead with a telescope.
Yeah.
In Pro Stock Motorcycle, Eddie Krawick hold a 166-point lead over second-place tie between Andrew Hines and Gerald Savoy. Angel Sampain, 185 back. Chip Ellis is now fifth, 257 down. And Ricky Smith holds the lead in Pro Modified, 131 up on Troy Coughlin. Robert Rahim now 148 down. Steve Matuzik and Michael Beal are also in the top five. They're 182 and 218 points down, respectively. First time since 2007, and it was cool to watch. Road America, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, hosting the Verizon IndyCar Series. And as both you and I did predict, it was going to be a veteran, a driver familiar with IndyCar on that particular course getting the win, but that's pretty much where our predictions stopped matching up with reality.
Hey, we're good. We got one part of it.
Yeah. It turned out to be Will Power. He actually dominated the event. He led all but 4 laps on the afternoon, and he was able to hold off a hard-charging Tony Kanaan to claim his second win of the 2016 season. Power had to miss the season opener with an inner ear infection, had some other health problems in the offseason as well, but says he feels like he's back at full strength, and let's face it, that's pretty much showing here because he won one of the Detroit duels, and now he's won at Road America, and he has a lot of confidence going into the latter part of this season.
Well, we see a lot of drivers, like Will Power. We've seen it across all the spectrums of all the different racing series. You see all the guys that are going out there, they're going in the cars sick, they're going in the cars with issues and everything, and it really takes away from their performance.
Sure.
It's a definite. You're trying to concentrate on what you got to do, but you've got something going on like that. Of course that's going to happen, but it's great to see Will Power bounce back this way. We've seen all of the drivers be able to bounce back from being sick or something and start getting back where they're supposed to be.
And by and large, it's been a rough couple of years for Will Power.
It has. It has.
So
been
to
indeed.
see him have that kind of confidence, that's a good thing for him and his team.
He needed this. The team needed this.
Yeah.
They needed it as a whole. And this is that launch pad. We talk about the springboards and everything else that as drivers move forward. This big for him.
Absolutely. Following Power and Kanaan across the finish line, Graham Rahal with a good run to finish third, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Ilio Castroneves. You're noticing a lot of veteran names here, a lot of guys who were there back in 2007 when they last ran, save Graham Rahal. Charlie Kimball, Juan Pablo Montoya, Joseph Newgarden, all claiming top tens despite soreness due to his broken right collarbone. Congratulations to Newgarden on a good run there. Spencer Pigot and Carlos Munoz fill out the top 10. Simon Pagenaud still holds the series points lead, but Castroneves is now crawling up. He's now only 74 points back. Will Power is third, 81 down. Scott Dixon fourth, 90 back. And Joseph Newgarden, good run for the injured driver, up to fifth, 92 points out of the lead. Tony Kanaan jumps up to sixth, trailed in points by Carlos Munoz, Graham Rahal, Juan Pablo Montoya, and the rookie Alexander Rossi. He's 118 points out of the lead and hanging out there in the top 10, but he did not have a good day at Road America.
No, he did not at all.
So he's got to find whatever it was that he had at Indy. He needs to find that again because
grab it and bring it with you.
Absolutely.
They showed the re-airing of the Indy 500 the other day.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it wasn't on TV. It was on Facebook. They were sharing it. And, I didn't really think about it at the time, watching it. And you're taking all of it in and everything else. But for him to be able to win that race on fumes.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
It's a lot of people. I saw a lot of comments. People were going, "Yeah, it was a fluke. He got lucky." And then I saw a lot of people saying,
sometimes.
"No talent." Oh, wait a second. How do you have any talent?
Dude finished 500 miles at Indianapolis without getting into a wreck
on fumes.
And we talk about on fumes, and sometimes we think, it's kind of this phrase that people throw out on fumes. Yeah, it was such on fumes he couldn't even do a post-race burnout. He ran out of gas. The car quit.
Yeah,
after he hit the start-finish line, he had to be pushed into victory lane.
You don't understand how hard that is to time that out so precise. You couldn't get any closer on the fuel window.
And we mentioned it that week. That final lap where these guys are doing 220 miles per hour on average on any given lap at an Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the final lap on average for Alexander Rossi was just slightly over 177 miles per hour.
Yeah, no, because
40 miles an hour off the pace.
Like I said, I was so wrapped up in everything that was going on, I didn't get a chance to actually take it in. So when I went back and listened to it, I hear the crew chief going,
sure,
punch it, punch it, punch it, and he's kind of just almost coasting
right
across the start-finish line. Yeah. There is nothing to punch.
If you want to kind of equate this, and I'm not saying Alexander Rossi is the talent of what Darrell Waltrip was in his heyday, but if you want to equate what Alexander Rossi at this year's Daytona 500, go back to the lone, or Indianapolis 500, excuse me, go back to the lone Daytona 500 win for Darrell Waltrip and listen to him on the radio talking about, oh my gosh, it's cutting out. Nope, it's back. Oh, it's cutting out. Oh, it's back. And he was doing that for like the last 2 or 3 laps.
That has got to just rack your brain.
Oh, my gosh. It's got to be nerve-wracking.
Yes.
Final event to get underway, Sprint Cup Series last weekend. They ran to their first of 2 road course events this season out in Sonoma, California. Now, 2 days before the event, in a practice session, Tony Stewart had gotten into Jamie McMurray, and he was not happy, and he was quoted as saying that he wasn't happy in Sprint Cup Series cars anymore and actually couldn't wait to run whatever he wanted, which is why he's retiring at the end of this year. He apparently was able to channel some of that frustration into breaking the longest winless streak of his NASCAR career. Set himself up with a little bit of luck as well. His team chose to pit his number 14 Chevrolet SS with 25 laps left. And then, 22 laps to go, caution comes out. Well, he's done. He's got a full tank of gas. He's got 4 relatively fresh Goodyear Eagles. He ain't got a pit.
That's right.
Everybody else did. He finds himself out front. And watching the last 25 laps of this race.
I would have loved to have been the fly on the wall in Steve's house while he's watching this race, John.
We've talked about how restarts are important.
Yes.
Tony Stewart actually had that down. We've seen where drivers, they'll kind of crumble a little bit under the pressure. Tony didn't.
No.
He had it down on this one.
9 times out of 10, they're going to spin those tires or screw something up.
Yeah, Tony was there every single time, got it locked down. Final lap saw Denny Hamlin that was actually on Stewart's back bumper and using a bump and run through turn 7 to gain the lead. But Stewart stayed on his Hamlin's back bumper, and in the final turn, that hairpin turn 11, Hamlin overdrove it a little bit, so Tony got under him, and Hamlin got under Hamlin, nudged him loose. Well, the 11 hit the wall, and Tony goes on to claim his first win in 84 races. That dates back to the 2013 Spring Dover race. A much happier Smoke said in Victory Lane, quote, "They're all good. It doesn't matter where you get them, but we ran close to those guys all day. We just got stuck back in traffic." He was talking about earlier on in the day. Hamlin was actually one of the first drivers to congratulate the 3-time Cup Series champion, stuck his head inside the 14's window before Tony parked it in Victory Lane. Hamlin laid the blame on himself in post-race interview, said, quote, "I got out of line, obviously gave him the inside line. Once I knew he had position, we had a wall on the other side. I knew it was a pretty good chance I was going to go into the wall. I didn't think he was going to leave it to chance to drag race to the finish."
Yeah, that was wild. Collectively, every Tony Stewart fan in the world, you could hear them all at once. It was like Junior Nation speaking up.
Yeah, we're going to continue talking about this, give you the rundown on the points and the top 10 and all that. But we got to take our first break of a 2-hour edition of the fastest hour in radio. Superstation 101, WIDE, 95.3 FM, 1260 AM, your Superstation 101 app, and every other way that you can listen.
Do we need a card?
You're listening to the fastest hour in radio on Superstation 101.
Gentlemen, start your engine.
Let's talk track. No matter how fast you take those turns or speed through the straightaway, you've got to make sure your engine is taken care of because your health is your engine. You need the healthier alternative to cigarettes. You need Wild Vapors. Wild Vapors is known for their signature formula mixed in an off-site clean room facility for their own brands. They only use the purest vaping juice on the circuit without sucralose or diacetyl. You still get the same satisfaction of smoking without the high health risk of cigarettes. The crew at Wild Vapors knows you're busy on the lead lap and can't always take a pit stop when you need it. That's why they provide you with the best products on the circuit sent directly to you at your garage. That's right, call in your order and they'll send it directly to you. Now that's the type of crew you need for the Brickyard 400. Am I right? So don't be a lug nut short of a full set. Find the healthier alternative to smoking. Make your next pit stop at Wild Vapors of Sylacauga today. 256-369-2569. Find them in the Sylacauga Walmart Shopping Center or their Alexander City location. Stay on track with Wild Vapors.
Back to green flag action on the fastest hour in radio on Superstation 101.
Hey, welcome back into it. Fastest hour in radio, rolling on a July 4th weekend. Happy Independence Day to everybody, including our country.
Yes.
And we're talking about what happened last week's Spring Cup Series at Sonoma, and we started everything off by talking about how during practice Tony Stewart had been quoted as saying he's just not happy right now. He cannot wait to get out of the car and get into running what he wants to.
It just looked so down, man.
Yeah, well, it's amazing what a win will do for you because in Victory Lane he goes, "I'm happy doing what I'm doing. Still happy about my decision to make the change I'm making next year. Feel like we're gaining ground here. I'm proud of my guys." Stewart's now nailed down one of the 2 things that he needed to do in order to become Chase eligible. Of course, NASCAR already said he would be in the Chase if he won and got inside the top 30. Well, Tony now needs to get inside the top 30. More on that in a moment.
Yes.
Top 10 officially, Tony Stewart, then Denny Hamlin, who recovered to finish second despite a hard-charging Joey Logano, who finishes third. Carl Edwards, Martin Truex Jr. round out your top 5. Rest of your top 10, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Ryan Newman, Casey Kane, and Kurt Busch. So 3 of the Stewart-Haas racing cars finish inside the top 10.
Go figure.
There are now 11 drivers, including Stewart, with wins this season, but Stewart sits officially 9 points. That has been adjusted. Originally, it was thought to be 21, but now it's 9 points out of 30th right now, so he is not included in the top 16. Among your non-winners, 6 in all, Chase Elliott leads, trailed by Dale Earnhardt Jr., Ryan Newman, Austin Dillon, Jamie McMurray, and Casey Kane. The win overall, Stewart's 49th. It puts him 13th on the Sprint Cup Series all-time wins list, so there you go.
Yeah, that... We've been talking all season about this. You know, him coming back from the injury and everything, and how he was going to do it. And
could he recover well enough to find victory lane?
And was he going to be able to focus enough and get things? And it seemed like there was all kinds of bad luck on his side, for lack of better saying.
All right.
And you were just almost to the point of, where is it going to happen? How is it going to happen? We broke it down. We were looking at the tracks of, where could this take place at? We thought about Sonoma, but we figured Watkins Glen more. But the way that he went out and they got that race just basically put right into their wheelhouse, and for them to be able to capitalize the way they did, it's amazing. But there's a lot of people, of course, that whole thing that we saw last year with Kyle Busch getting, coming back from the 11 races out and then winning and winning and winning, going on to win the championship. All of a sudden now all the trolls come out on social media, and well, here we go. We could be setting up for another champion who missed a bunch of races. So there's more people that are.
It's possible, but again, that was last year. This is this year. These are 2 totally different things.
It is. It's 2 totally different things. But a lot of people are saying it's almost the same thing. You miss races, you come in, you win a race, you go on to the championship, yet you didn't finish the whole season.
Let me put my fan hat on here.
Yes, that's what I was aiming for. Thank you, Steve. Bring it.
What shirt am I wearing?
It's a gray, and it's got a 14 on it.
Okay. This is the official Tony Stewart Fan Club 2016 t-shirt.
That's right.
Okay. Once you sign up for what they call Smoke Pit Fan Club, this is the shirt that you get.
Yes.
All right. I've been a Tony Stewart fan since 1999 when he showed up in NASCAR.
Yes.
All right. As a fan, I hope it's an exact replication of what happened last year.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you think about it, Kyle Busch's win that vaulted him into the chase was at Sonoma.
And the same thing this year could be.
And then he went on to 4 out of 5 wins.
Well, and now we're into the summer months.
Exactly.
Smoke's
and Tony
hot in the
Stewart
summer.
tends to get hot in the summertime. I'm hoping that it is. Taking the fan hat off and putting the media hat on. There's a difference between what Kyle Busch had been proven to be able to do over the last 2-3 years before the injury and versus what Tony Stewart has done over the previous 2 or 3 years. We have seen the ability of the 18 or any Joe Gibbs racing car to get hot like that.
Oh, yeah.
We have not necessarily seen that out of the number 14 of Tony Stewart since 2011, when all of a sudden he gets into the chase that year with no wins. And then turns around and wins 5 out of the 10 chase races.
And then takes it all the way.
But we haven't seen that streak out of Tony Stewart in 5 years.
Well, and that's the thing. It was, 84 races?
Yes.
84
Dover 2013.
Races. So that was the last win. It's been up and down. It's been chaos. It's been all kinds of stuff going on for Stewart and the 14 team and Stewart-Haas Racing all together. Kevin coming over, getting a championship, Kurt Busch coming over, and everybody's, getting into the chase. We're waiting for Smoke to get that win, to get into the chase and everything, and it wasn't happening. But now we talk about it. It's that cliche, the shot in the arm, so to speak. This is exactly what Tony Stewart needs. This will vault him to the end of the year. And you can't, everybody was talking to him before this, talking about the fact of, okay, well, what do you got to do to get in the chase? How are you going to get that win? Blah, blah, blah. What's it going to take? And it's kind of to the point
now
where he was
solid runs.
He pushed it off, and he's like, we got a lot of work to do and everything else. But collectively, I think there's a minority of people who are, bashing the fact of Tony getting a win after being out for so long. Kyle Busch, coming in after being out for so long and getting the win and going on to win the championship. But there isn't a single fan out there that is not going to pull for Tony Stewart to win the championship this year on his way out. Because last year, Jeff Gordon was on his way out, and collectively NASCAR as a community were pulling for Jeff Gordon to pull out that victory.
I've never been a humongous Jeff Gordon fan. during my
we were
lifetime.
pulling
But you
for
know
him.
what? I was actually pulling for him. I would have liked to have seen that happen.
And I mean, I'm not like a Tony fan. I like Tony. Don't get me wrong. He's a great guy. I'd love to see him do it too.
There's something to be said about an athlete of whatever sport going out on top. We saw it just earlier this year. Peyton Manning goes out on top. Now, it wasn't really him that got the Denver Broncos the win in the Super Bowl, but in the end, he's the quarterback, and he goes out with a Super Bowl ring. We saw it with John Elway, speaking of the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
Okay? We like to see those well-known athletes go out on top by being able to win and then walk off into the sunset, so to speak.
Yeah, after they put
It's a great story.
It is. It's that Cinderella fairy tale type story. You know, you come in and that's how you go out. You go out on top, and that's what you ultimately wanted to see for Jeff Gordon last year, and that's what you ultimately want to see for Tony Stewart this year.
Yeah,
we all know I'm a Harvick fan.
sure.
Tony's his boss, but I guarantee you, this come chase time, once Tony hits that top 30 and everything else, guarantee you, I'm a Tony fan for those last races.
Now, I know that Daytona's a wild card. Obviously, it's a restrictor plate race. You never know what's going to happen from one day to the next.
Right.
But among active drivers, so don't make calls, Dale Earnhardt fans, and I'm talking about senior, but among active drivers, Tony Stewart is the all-time wins leader at Daytona.
Yes, active drivers, yes.
Okay? There's a pretty good chance he'll find himself after tonight inside the top 30. And if you look at the tracks that are coming up between now and Richmond in the middle of September, those are tracks that he is actually quite good at by and large. Indianapolis, Watkins Glen, Richmond, which is where he got his first Cup Series win back in 1999. These are all tracks that really kind of go into his wheelhouse by and large.
Yes, and the only difference is this year going into the chase, a little bit different. You know, we've got the eliminations and everything else, so the 14 team has got to be on top of their game. But this past weekend at Sonoma is what's going to propel them through that chase. Yeah, they've got to basically come in, and when they hit Chicagoland, they have got to be
on top.
Number one. They cannot have a miscue, a mistake. They've got to be ready. Yeah. So between now and then, they need to work on honing themselves and getting themselves situated, preparing for Chicagoland, because that's ultimately the goal. Get Tony out with the championship.
Absolutely. This weekend, racing got underway last night. Xfinity Series ran the Subway Firecracker 250 at Daytona. David Reagan filling in for Matt Tifft. We'll talk about him more in just a little bit. Placed the Joe Gibbs Racing number 18 on the pole with Moonlighter Austin Dillon on the outside of the front row. Big Wreck took out several cars with less than 50 laps into the night, but when order was restored, it was kind of actually pretty quiet until a spin brought out the caution with 4 laps to go. Car ended up pushed off the track quickly. The leaders dropped down on a pit road, got a splash of gas, and when the race restarted, David Reagan and Moonlighter Eric Almirola led the field. But Reagan began to drop back before he ended up trying to switch lanes to the outside to see if that might work better on that final lap. It didn't work better. As the field hit the backstretch for the final time, Reagan ended up being hit by another car, turned, and that created another big wreck.
Oh, yeah.
Here's my problem. NASCAR, if you're going to call a caution, do it immediately.
Yeah. Don't wait. Put your finger on the button.
Let them hit the start-finish line and then say, hey, slow it way down. Big wreck on the
race it
backstretch.
out.
But no, NASCAR holds the yellow until the leaders, which are now Eric Almirola and Justin Allgaier, run that short chute from turn 4 to the tri-oval. I don't know what the deliberation was by the officials, but once they figured it out, somewhere about halfway down, they throw the yellow flag, and of course that means we got to go through all the video, syncing it up with where the yellow lights officially hit, and so on and so forth.
I just had deja vu, Steve.
I know, it seems a lot like Talladega, doesn't it?
It does. And it's the Xfinity race again.
Yeah. And once they deliberated it and checked out all the video and looked at it for about 5 minutes, they declared Eric Almirola the winner. Cool story here. Eric Almirola is actually credited with a win several years ago in the Xfinity Series. But it was one of those races where he actually started the event, but not too long after the start, he gave way to Denny Hamlin, who jumped in the car, and Denny Hamlin was the guy that crossed the start-finish line. So Eric Almirola himself in Victory Lane last night said, yeah, I've got a win, but I have an asterisk to it because it wasn't me who actually piloted the car to the victory. It was Denny Hamlin.
Yeah.
This one, to me, is my first Xfinity Series win.
Yeah, nobody wants that asterisk next to their name, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
You don't want it.
And now he feels like he has that pressure off of him. And for that, I will say congratulations to a Moonlighter.
Yeah. I mean, you go back and you look at the choices for the Hall of Fame. You look at Mark Martin.
Sure.
He's got an asterisk next to his name. Never won a championship.
Never won a Daytona 500.
Nope, never won a Daytona 500. There's 2 asterisks right there. Nobody wants that asterisk. You want to go out, and when you go out, you want to go out winning everything and anything that you were possibly able to win.
Sure, absolutely. But hey, either way, Eric Almirola does have a win following Almirola and Allgaier, who did finish second. Ryan Sieg, Moonlighter Joey Logano, Brendan Gaughan, Ryan Reed, Jeff Green, Spencer Gallagher, fresh off of his wrestling match / dance, Moonlighter Chase Elliott, and then Eric Jones. Eric Jones has 2 wins, so he's in the chase. Daniel Suarez and Elliott Sadler each have a win apiece, so they're also in the chase, but they're the only 3 locked into the 12-driver chase field for the Xfinity Series.
12.
Good grief.
They should have 8
in
they
the
should flip
Xfinity
it. And 12 in the trucks.
They should flip it
Yes.
because it'd probably be better.
Yes.
Those without wins include Ty Dillon, Justin Allgaier, the 3 Bs of Brendan Gaughan, Brandon Jones, and Brennan Poole, who are still stuck together like glue. Darrell Wallace Jr., Ryan Reed, Ryan Sieg, and Blake Cook. Those just outside, filling out the top 15, are Ross Chastain, Jeremy Clements, and Dakota Armstrong. They're on the outside looking in.
You seeing his name, Darrell Wallace Jr., did you get a chance to... Have you followed him on his Facebook or anything like that?
Actually, I haven't.
Let me tell you, he and Ryan Blaney, and I can't remember who the other guy was, they posted up a video this week. Ever since they posted up that video of them driving and imitating other drivers that we saw a few months back, they've all of a sudden gone, hey, everybody likes these videos. Let's do more.
Oh no!
So they've been doing all these goofy things. Well, the 3 of them were at a kitchen counter, and they put those guards in their mouths, I guess for the dentist or whatever, to keep their mouths open.
Right.
They were trying to eat cereal and cupcakes and all kinds of other things. And Bubba Wallace was sitting there cracking up so bad that he's got the greatest laugh in the world. But it's just great to see these guys normal.
They're having fun.
They're having fun.
Yeah.
They did something goofy a couple months ago. It was well received, but it's things like this that make you go, these guys are the same guys. They're just like us.
Yeah, but they're having fun.
But they're having a great time. But I tell you what, for drivers, man, they got a crappy apartment. All you see is they've got all this food all over the place. It's bare. They're just sitting at a counter, and they've got a bunch of crap in front of them.
Yeah,
and they're like, we're going to record this.
We're waiting for the big time.
Yes. Yes.
All right, plenty of racing for this July 4th weekend. Today, first of 2 FIA Formula E races this weekend. Going to wrap up that series' 2nd season. It's happening in London, England. The all-electric car series running on the scenic London street course consisting of 17 turns over a fairly short 1.81 mile long course. 33 laps total. Fox Sports 1 has live coverage of both the races. Today's coverage gets underway at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Central Time, so about half an hour after we're off the air. Tonight, as aforementioned by the call that we got in the last half hour, Spring Cup Series going to run the Coke Zero, and we're going to start calling it the Coke Zero Firecracker 400.
I like it.
Daytona International Speedway coverage coming from Motor Racing Network, while TV coverage moves over to NBC. They're going to put the race on the main network, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Central Time. Greg Biffle is on the pole for tonight's event. This is his first pole position since 2012.
We've been talking about it. We've been talking about Ford needing to do something. They've been needing to step things up. But you know what? Greg Biffle of the Ford camp, that's the guy who I would expect to be out there on the pole for tonight's Coke Zero Firecracker 400.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Final event of the FAA Formula E Series ends up airing on Fox Sports 2 tomorrow morning using the same course, number of laps, so 1.81 miles, 17 turns, 33 laps. Coverage gets underway 10:30 a.m. Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Central Time again on Sunday. Following that, Formula One back in action. They're going to run the Austrian Grand Prix on the 9-turn, 2.68-mile-long Red Bull Ring course. Man, that sounds so weird.
Yeah.
It's like almost a mile longer and has half the turns. Coverage on the NBC Sports Network getting underway noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time.
They gotta have more turns and less miles for the Formula E.
It would seem.
They have to, because they have to have some sort of noise coming from the cars. So you hear the
so you got to hear
screeching
the
of
tire
tires.
squeals. Yeah, all right. So that's the racing this weekend, considering that Xfinity Series is off, and so is the NHRA.
A little weird.
A little odd,
weird.
but they chose to take July 4th weekend off. I respect you.
I do too. I like that.
Good for you.
Of course, there's we got racing to watch at least tonight.
That we do.
Yeah.
Last Sunday, during pre-race coverage for the Spring Cup Series race at Sonoma, Fox Sports' final NASCAR event of the year, Brian France decided to come in, and he sat in with the studio host, Chris Wallace, and they did a little Q&A session. Plenty of questions. One of them related to the new lug nut rule. Wallace asked if the current rule was going to be changed or revisited, to which Brian France said that he didn't foresee that happening, stating that safety was the primary concern and the drivers wanted the new rule. Took the drivers to actually beg for the new rule for them to put it into place, but that's another story entirely. Moving on. Regarding the new title sponsor that is slated to replace Sprint, which leaves at the end of the 2016 season, France said that NASCAR had been hosting actually that weekend several of the companies that have been talking with NASCAR about being the title sponsor, but nothing was firmed up just yet. Wallace also asked about a dual sponsorship, and we see that a lot nowadays in cars where you'll get 2 or 3 or 4 sponsors that become primary to help fill out an entire NASCAR Sprint Cup Series season. Could you do that with the title sponsor? Brian France didn't rule it out.
Oh, no.
But said he would be surprised if that would be the case. He didn't give a timetable for an announcement, said that it only appears on their schedule to be a fall announcement. I don't see how you could make that work.
You can't.
It seems so odd. I mean,
you can't. There's no way.
We've gone from the change, obviously, of NASCAR Winston Cup to NASCAR Nextel Cup to NASCAR Sprint Cup, and that's been odd enough to make those transitions as we go on through. It'd be really kind of odd to then turn around and now have to call it the NASCAR Hardee's / Pizza Hut / Taco Bell series.
Yeah, that just, it doesn't have that ring to it, you know. Well,
you want to know what it sounds like? It sounds like a Jeff Foxworthy comedy routine.
It does. It's hey, that's just setting up NASCAR for a lot of bad jokes.
Yeah, it's, let's make a decision, see if we can't find one company that's going to give us what we're looking for.
You think about it. You think about the guy who's in Victory Lane each weekend. He's like, yeah, no, the Powerade, Hardee's, Pizza Hut, Mobil 1, Chevy was great this weekend. You don't do that with a championship.
Yeah, you can do that with a car because you're relying so much on the sponsorships.
Yeah.
I get that NASCAR is relying on sponsorships, but you need to be able to find that one company.
There's a company out there that can do it, that we can have an actual championship instead of a multi-company championship.
Yeah, I'm hoping that that's the way that it goes. When he was asked about the infusion of youth within NASCAR, Brian France seemed very unworried about losing names like 2015 retiree Jeff Gordon, this year's retiree-to-be Tony Stewart, noting also that several other big-name drivers are now in their 40s like Gordon and Stewart and beginning to think about stepping away. France said that with the talent and diversity among that talent, singling out Daniel Suarez, he said he wasn't worried about the marketability of NASCAR in the future. And you know what? I'm not either.
I'm not. We got a great... There's a lot of great drivers that are in the wings waiting to move up to the next series when they're ready.
Yeah. Oh, sure. But you think about it. You got Eric Jones, you got Daniel Suarez, you got Darrell Bubba Wallace Jr. Those are the 3 that immediately come to mind from the Xfinity series, but there are many more that are there that could make that jump easily. And we talk about the names that are in the Camping World Truck Series right now that are ready to come up and maybe not make the step all the way to the Sprint Cup Series, but Christopher Bell, for example, who just picked up the win. William Byron, who has 3 wins on the season as a rookie.
Yeah.
There is talent out there, and we're looking at your Talladegas and your Pintons and your Huntsvilles and your Montgomerys and all these tracks just in the state of Alabama, and we're going, look at the talent that we see here.
There's a ton of talent. Just us going out to Talladega Short Track when we go out there, there are so many guys out there that are just dominating. I mean, you look at Bubba Lackey.
Sure.
Yeah, we've seen him. He's got a ton of wins. You look at the likes of Cruz Skinner, ton of wins. You look at our buddy Garrett Lloyd, tons of wins.
They're getting ready to send him up from what we're being told. That they're thinking about looking at moving him up into late models.
These guys, that's what's out there. Yeah. And that's just one track.
This is just Alabama. We're not talking about any place else in the Southeast, any place else up in the Northeast, any place else out West. It's just here in Alabama you think about the amount of talent that's here.
Yeah, because you look at some
trust us, there's going to be plenty of people that can slide in and fill those shoes.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at the fact we're looking at one track. We just named a couple of names off from one track. Yeah, they run at a couple different tracks around the area that's close. Yeah. But you look at the likes of NASCAR, you've got Jimmy Johnson from California. You got Harvick from California. You got Tony Stewart from Indiana.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They're
Matt
all over
Kenseth
the place.
From Wisconsin.
It's not just here. I mean, we've got a lot to look at here, but that just goes to show you there are tons of talent all around.
Yeah.
You look at the Outlaw Series. There's so many racing series to pick from, pluck guys from.
And I will say this. There was that worry, and we see this worry about every generation. Okay, you get in through the 1980s and you start realizing that your Richard Pettys and your Bobby Allisons and your Donnie Allisons and your Darrell Waltrips and your Cale Yarboroughs are all getting much older. Yeah. And oh my gosh, where are we going to go from here? And then you get your Dale Earnhardt Seniors, and then your Jeff Gordons, and then later on you get your Jimmy Johnsons and your Tony Stewarts and so on and so forth that come in and they fill in that role. Are we going to get that infusion of talent where they're all so highly competitive that we, can't stand it? Or we're going to get some dominating driver here for a few years until all of these drivers finally mature enough to get to Sprint Cup, or what is now Sprint Cup? I don't know. But either way, no, I'm not worried about it, because we've seen this over the course of NASCAR's history, where you get those great drivers who unfortunately realize that it's time. They step away, somebody comes in, and they are able to continue on.
There's going to be lulls. There's going to be that up and down. I mean, you're going to have a lot of talent at one peak. You're going to have a little bit less talent, but you're going to have one guy who kind of just rises above the rest, and that's kind of that time for them to shine.
Yeah.
But then you see guys like we've got right now in the Sprint Cup Series. You look at all that talent we've got.
Oh, yeah.
It's extremely hard to go out there and win a race against the guys that are in that field right now.
Absolutely.
But throughout NASCAR, we've seen that. As the generations pass, you see those couple of guys, but then you see those big groups of guys. It's not a definite thing. It's just when you kind of come in. Exactly. Are you going to come in at the right time, or are you going to come in at the time where you really got to be good?
Yeah, exactly. Then they did a rapid-fire segment of the interview session. France admitted NASCAR would be for a road course in the chase. Yes! But isn't sure how the scheduling with the current tracks will work out at this time. Boo. He did admit that should the right sponsor and or opportunity come along, that the annual All-Star race could visit other venues, but otherwise didn't see any major changes within NASCAR coming. It'd be a little odd to see the All-Star race at any track other than Charlotte.
Yeah, that... You can't. You got to have it at Charlotte.
Plus, there's the fact that the vast majority, Furniture Row Racing notwithstanding, and quite frankly, the Wood Brothers based out of Stewart, Virginia, but this is home. That's the home place for all 95% of the NASCAR Cup Series teams.
Yeah, it's the hub. It's where it's supposed to be.
You put the All-Star race there, they get to be at home for a couple of weeks because you back up the All-Star race with the Coke 600.
Not to mention, you look at Charlotte. And look at other tracks. Look at a track like Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Let's say they had it there for some strange reason. You're looking
Bright
at
Lights, big city.
There's a couple of guys that are like better than everybody else at that track. Charlotte is kind of that eliminator.
Yeah.
It kind of levels the playing field. We've seen Johnson good there. We've seen Kurt Busch good there. We've seen Kevin Harvick good there. We've seen Dale Earnhardt Jr. good there. Mm-hmm. There's always a guy that might be a little bit better than the rest, but there's not that one guy dominant. Hey. I have no problem doing the All-Star race at Phoenix, just saying. Because
Kevin Harvick,
I know who's going to be winning that one.
Sure.
That's the thing. But Charlotte, you're right. It's not just that fact. It's not just the fact of where the track is and who's a great driver at that track. Charlotte is just such a beast in itself.
If you're going to move the All-Star race, you need to put a limit on the amount of miles you're going to go away. And
yes.
I don't know whether that limit is 100 miles, 150 miles, whatever it is, but you can't be more than about 100 to 150 miles away from Charlotte.
Yeah, but and well, on top of that, you look at the fact of all the festivities and everything that goes down throughout those 2 weeks of the All-Star race weekend, followed up by the following weekend. It's just... You can't break that apart. That's starting to become that thing that when you plan your vacation, you're going to go to the All-Star race in a Coke 600.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's what you base it around.
Yeah, so I don't like the idea of them moving it, quite frankly.
I do not either.
NASCAR last Monday was looking ahead at the upcoming chase for the Sprint Cup and at the top 16, and granted he's not in there, but Ryan Blaney sits just outside of the top 16 in points for that non-chartered Wood Brothers racing team. So NASCAR, looking at that, said, you know what, we might need to change some things. So they made a slight change to the rules, which states now, should a non-chartered team, like Wood Brothers Racing, which needs to qualify for every event that it enters because of that non-charter system, they're not guaranteed a spot like the 36 chartered cars are. They say if you get into the chase, even as a non-chartered car, you would be guaranteed a starting position for all your chase races while the car is eligible to win the championship. Obviously, you got the elimination rounds and all that.
There we go. That's a little bit better.
A little bit. You're getting there, NASCAR.
Just a touch.
You're getting there.
There's a step.
NASCAR Senior Vice President Jim Cassidy said of the rule change, earning a berth in the chase for the Sprint Cup is extremely difficult and requires consistent elite performance. Those teams should be guaranteed an opportunity to race for the title. This ensures that will be the case. for the chase. One other rule has also been changed in that owners' points, not practice speeds, would then be used to determine who got into the race and what the starting order would be. I'm not so concerned about that. That's minor to me. It doesn't really matter.
So basically, if you win a race and you're a non-charter team, you get your token.
Ryan Blaney, we've seen it. We've seen the performance, and we have talked about him being inside the top 16 in the earlier parts of the year. I certainly wouldn't put it past him. Yep, and we know how good they are at restrictor plate tracks.
You get your pass.
Where are they tonight?
Yep, restrictor plate.
Joe Gibbs Racing driver Matt Kenseth looking a little bit more stable than he was about, 2 months ago when it comes to sponsorship. Dollar General had announced earlier this year they were going to be leaving as the primary sponsor of the number 20 Toyota Camry, pulling out of NASCAR sponsorship altogether. Well, DeWalt Power Tools, which actually sponsored Kenseth back when he drove at Roush Fenway Racing and joined up with Kenseth again this past off-season, they're set to pick up some of the events being left by Dollar General's departure. DeWalt going to take on 15 of the 2017 events to be primary sponsor. They will be an associate sponsor for the rest of the year. They're also partnered with Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity Series. They're going to be a primary sponsor for Eric Jones and/or Daniel Suarez in a total of 6 races. So now we just got to figure out what we're going to do with the other 21 events.
Yeah.
Almost said 17. Where was I going with 32? It's 36 races.
I was about to say, don't cut the season.
Yeah, really. So there you go. Well, from there, speaking of the Xfinity Series, we're going to drop down to that when we come back here, and we're going to talk about Matt Tifft. And it was David Reagan who took over the car last week, or last night, and we'll tell you why. Matt Tifft had a fairly serious health problem that he was dealing with.
Yes.
We'll give you all the details on that. Plus, we've got open wheel news from Indycar, Formula One, Formula E. We'll talk NHRA.
We still got 60 minutes, brother.
We got a whole hour to do it in, and you know what? We're going to need it because we got dirt track action to talk about as well. Stay close. Fastest hour in radio rolls on. 9411011, toll free 866-551-9933. Hey, that means you can be a part of it too.
Gentlemen, start your engine.
Let's talk track. No matter how fast you take those turns or speed through the straightaway, you've got to make sure your engine is taken care of because your health is your engine. You need the healthier alternative to cigarettes. You need Wild Vapors. Wild Vapors is known for their signature formula mixed in an off-site clean room facility for their own brands. They only use the purest vaping juice on the circuit without sucralose or diacetyl. You still get the same satisfaction of smoking without the high health risk of cigarettes. The crew at Wild Vapors knows you're busy on the lead lap and can't always take a pit stop when you need it. That's why they provide you with the best products on the circuit sent directly to you at your garage. That's right, call in your order and they'll send it directly to you. Now that's the type of crew you need for the Brickyard 400. Am I right? So don't be a lug nut short of a full set. Find the healthier alternative to smoking. Make your next pit stop at Wild Vapors of Sylacauga today. 256-369-2569. Find them in the Sylacauga Walmart Shopping Center or their Alexander City location. Stay on track with Wild Vapors.
Hey, welcome back in. Hour number 2, and it is the full hour of hour number 2 that we have here on the Fastest Hour in Radio.
I love when we have 2 hours. It's always a wonderful thing.
Yes, it's really cool stuff. Like it. You never know. Could happen.
Never know.
That said, here we are, July 4th weekend. Happy Independence Day to you all. We are live on Saturday morning, 9411011, toll free, 866-551-9933. Maybe you're the shy type and you'd rather get a hold of us through social media. Feel free, because you can, through facebook.com/The Fastest Hour in Radio or any of the other ways that you're much more familiar with than I am.
Because that's my thing.
Yes, it's all you, man.
That's right. Twitter, @Fastest Hour. Instagram, @Fastest Hour. And make sure you check out all of our previous shows, and all the upcoming shows will be there too at some point or another. You can find us on youtube.com. Look up The Fastest Hour Radio and click that subscribe button. Go back and listen to all the other shows. Check us.
Yeah.
Check out our facts. Look how good we are.
We're all over it, man.
We are your number one home.
And should be. Yeah, absolutely. All right, here we go. Down to the Xfinity Series, where Joe Gibbs Racing driver Matt Tifft, who was pulled out of the Iowa Speedway Racing Weekend 2 weeks ago due to what was being termed then a disc problem in his back, is actually going to be sidelined indefinitely. Doctors and the 20-year-old Tifft said found a tumor in his brain while they did a full physical workup on him. He ended up undergoing surgery for that tumor. He's going to need time in rehab before NASCAR doctors will consider allowing him to race again. Reports had the tumor being about the size of a $50 coin, if you remember what a 50-cent coin looked like, near his right temple, and about an inch into his brain at its deepest point. By the way, for those of you that don't know what a $50 coin is, that means you're too young. Ask your parents. At this time, it is not considered cancerous. Reports do state that it has the potential to grow aggressively, which could cause brain damage if left untreated. So surgery actually took place yesterday, Friday. Took about an hour, which, all things considered, that seems kind of quick.
It does. It does seem a little quick.
Congratulations to the doctors for being able to do that. And they stated that he was, and I heard this on the coverage last night on the NBC Sports Network of the Xfinity Series race at Daytona, where Matt Tifft was in recovery in time and was awake and alert in time to watch last night's race.
That's always a good thing.
God, that's good stuff. Matt Tifft had stated earlier if he had not had the disc problem, the tumor probably never would have been discovered. Stated that it may have come about due to a concussion that he suffered when he was a younger child. Admits that he's been sensitive to light ever since then, so he asked for an MRI on his head while they were already doing one for his back. The thoughts and prayers for all of us here at the Fastest Hour in Radio, going with Matt Tifft, his family, and his friends as he recovers.
You know, it's scary.
It is.
It's scary when you're getting an MRI done on your back and you go, could you go ahead and
Can we look at this just
can we
to
just
see?
check this out?
Yeah.
And then
but credit to him for saying that.
Yes. I mean, a lot of people, and that's the thing, a lot of people don't think about those things.
No.
They just kind of get done what needs to be done. But
well, and there's also this thought about, being tough guy.
Yeah.
Don't care.
Tarzan, me,
Yes.
you, Jane.
Disc problem, check that. Don't care about nothing else.
Yeah. Just check what's got to be checked.
There is that thought. No, he manned up.
Yeah.
Check this thing out. Let's just make sure.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We talk about across all the series. We've been talking about it a lot more here recently, with the likes of Dale Earnhardt Jr. with his concussion back at Talladega a few years ago. You look at, several other people across, NFL and everything else. All these things that they're doing on concussions and how they affect the body and everything else. I mean, he had a concussion when he was a kid, and now he finds a tumor.
Yeah.
Not that that's saying that that's connected in
We
any
don't
way,
know.
shape, or form.
Again, this is just pure supposition on his part, but he says, you know what, ever since then I've been really sensitive to light, and I've heard that people that, have tumors and things like that sometimes can be a side effect.
So that's the thing. There was a light bulb that went off in somebody's head when he said, I had a concussion as a kid. It, hasn't been right since, and now that shows up. That's something that these programs we've detailed right here on the show. You can go back and listen to that one. I think we've got that on the YouTube channel.
Sure.
That they're doing all these studies and stuff on how concussions affect the body. That was when he was a kid. Now we're talking years later.
Yep. And look at how it's affected him.
So that's they're going to be wanting to talk to him about that.
So we're again, all our thoughts and prayers here at the Fastest Hour in Radio go with him right now. Chevrolet officially unveiled their 2017 Xfinity Series Camaro SS Racer Friday at Daytona International Speedway. Car taking its visual cues on the front and back ends from the actual road-going Camaro SS, with, as in the Sprint Cup and Camping World Truck Series, being obviously more slab-sided than either the street, car, or truck of that same name. Chevrolet's now shown off their 2017 entries for the Camping World Truck Series and the Xfinity Series, but it still hasn't announced what model name they're going to use for their Sprint Cup Series entry. The SS is going away at the end of this year, but we don't know what they're going to go with. A lot of supposition, though.
I ain't got a clue.
Yeah, I don't either. The most obvious choices would seem to be either Malibu or Impala.
I'd love to see it go back to the Impala.
I wouldn't bother me to see it go back to the Impala, but I'm kind of sad that they're going away from the SS.
I missed the Monte Carlo. Just saying.
Yeah, no kidding. Good grief. So, shall we get back into the dance/fight last Saturday night?
Yes, it's time to detail Dancing with the Stars NASCAR edition.
Before we go dancing, we just had a caller wanted to comment that Mr. Tifft,
yes,
he's only 20 years old.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Probably had his mother make his decisions for him.
I kind of doubt that.
Per the caller.
I kind of doubt that. I'm going to take Matt at his own word that he said, you know what, let's go ahead and check this out since we're here. I'm going to give Matt.
I'm going to go with Matt, but I'm going to play the other side of the fence here with Moms.
Mom was probably out there in the waiting room going, yes, please do.
I've been telling you this for years. You're finally listening.
It's about time.
This does not empower any woman out there that's listening to this show.
Because here's the thing.
Convince their man to do something, please.
While Mom could have been cheering it on, Matt, in the end, had to be the one that said, yes, let's go ahead and do it.
Ultimately, yes, he did. But, maybe she's been on him a little bit over the years.
I hope so.
You think about it. You look back at the fact that, it happened when he was a kid. And he started having issues after that ever since. She's probably kind of been on him about it. Maybe you need to get that checked out. And he's kind of pushed it off the side. And then finally he said, you know what? Man up.
Yep. Time to do it. So either way, congratulations to the Tift family.
Yes.
We'll give credit to the entire Tift family.
Good job to Mom, too.
That's right. All right, so the dance/fight last Saturday night near the end of the Camping World Truck Series. Seems Spencer Gallagher is rather apologetic.
Well, yeah, he should be because it was horrible.
Released a statement early Tuesday. Gallagher, the recipient of several punches to the face and head by Townley, apologized, saying, quote, "The incident earlier in the race was not intentional and certainly not meant to cause bigger problems later in the event. My crew, who have worked so hard to get me where I am this season, did not deserve to have their night ended in that way." It continued, quote, "I would like to extend a sincere apology to the NASCAR community, representatives, and fans. I love the sport just as much as all of you, and I am ashamed that I was part of an incident that has allowed so many to view what we do in a negative light." He also used the statement to apologize to John West Townley himself, along with Townley's team and his fans as well.
I got to disagree with him on that one, the little thing right there.
Why?
About the negative light thing.
It did give a lot of press.
It got a lot of press. 1979 Daytona 500.
Sure.
You can go back to that anytime you want. You want to talk about negative light. That was not negative. It was all positive. This was one of the most talked about things this week.
Sure.
So the Camping World Truck Series had a lot of press.
So you're under the impression or the old saying of there's no such thing as negative publicity. It's
Bingo.
publicity.
It's the boys have at it. The officials stood back and let them dance around the track and do the Watusi and all that stuff out there in the corner, the waltz, whatever you want to call that. And
NASCAR did step in.
They stepped in.
We'll talk about it.
They stepped in, but it got a lot of press.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
It's not negative, though.
First of all, let's go on a little bit more humorous side. As for Townley.
Oh, I thought this was already humorous.
Well, yeah, but it even gets better. Townley has the support of the three-time Cup Series champion and Sunday's winner, Tony Stewart. Stewart said after everything was done on Sunday that he and his Stewart Haas Racing teammates were having dinner when the fight broke out. They watched it on television, said he talked to Mike Helton about it before Sunday's race and said, quote, "I can't wait for Tuesday because I told Helton I've been waiting for a long time to see how much you get fined for a fight." Helton, he laughed at me. I then said, well, look at it this way. I've got a lot of scores to settle with people, and I've only got 6 months to do it. I just got to figure out if it's economically feasible to do it, he said, smiling the whole way. Stewart got a little more serious, said he would be fully supporting John West Townley this week. Quote, "I'm going to Zaxby's and eat chicken all week just in support of John West." Now, Townley is the son of the founder of Zaxby's and is sponsored, of course, by the family company. Tony then added, quote, "Hey, I'm all for it. I'm glad to see somebody had some emotion and actually did something with it. I'm going to live my life through him for this week."
I'm curious. I wonder how Zaxby's actually did this week.
That is something that would be interesting to find out.
I'm curious on that.
As far as the fight is concerned, and for Stewart's knowledge, the fight is going to cost each driver a 5-figure amount each. John West Townley hit with a $15,000 fine, one would assume, because he actually landed some punches. While Gallagher, who arguably got the worst of the bout, slapped with a $12,500 penalty, so you get $2,500 off for having a black eye for the dance wrestling match. The pair also hit with probation. They're both on probation through the end of the calendar year, December 31st.
So that means that NASCAR called that, right?
Yeah.
They called the fight, there was a decision.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
I was wondering about the apology, how much NASCAR had to deal with the apology.
I don't think they had much to do with this.
Not a whole lot, no.
I do.
Because we haven't seen an actual apology from Townley.
No.
So I think
it was just Gallagher. He was trying to capitulate and go, you know what? Let's see if I can make this a little easier on me.
His hand was forced. He lost the fight. And there it is right there. NASCAR made the decision in the end. The hand was raised of Townley by the fact if you look at the fines.
Yes. Technical knockout.
$15,000 to 25 or 12.5. So NASCAR, I don't think they realized that, but they actually chose the winner of the fight.
Yeah, it just turns out that all the prize money goes to NASCAR.
Exactly. Everybody loses.
Does that work?
Except NASCAR.
You don't agree with that particular rundown?
No, I think NASCAR had something to do with it.
You need to put out an apology, boy.
Yeah.
Do it now.
You need to do it now because you look bad.
They probably told both of them.
And John West Townley said, I don't care.
Yeah. Exactly. Hence the higher fine.
That's
maybe.
Think about it.
You might be right.
Hey, why you would have killed that, man? That was great. We had a decision by NASCAR, hand raised in the middle of the ring.
We do have the decision by NASCAR. You're right.
Townley didn't apologize. He got a bigger fine.
There you go. More seriously, according to Ohio State fire marshals, the fire that caused major damage to the Thor Sport Racing facility back on June 13th, it was officially an accident. ThorSport fields 4 trucks in the Camping World Truck Series, and the fire was discovered by 2 employees who were working late on that Sunday evening / Monday morning. They smelled the smoke. They called the fire department. While the employees and the firefighters were able to salvage 15 of the 18 completed trucks sitting in the facility, the fire, before it was put out, caused more than $10 million in damage, and 2 of the facilities specifically were effectively total losses. Fire began underneath the stairs of a patio, though, that is attached to the building, where mulch is laying on the ground underneath it. What ignited the mulch? Not exactly known, because the amount of water used to douse the fire washed away a large portion of that mulch from the building. But investigators could not rule out the possibility of a cigarette butt or some other smoking material starting the fire. ThorSport executives state it will likely take about 18 months to rebuild that building in its entirety, and in the meantime, they are currently being housed in several buildings in and around their hometown of Sandusky, Ohio. So, number one, we thankfully it was an accident, it wasn't arson.
Yes.
But here's the thing. How many times have we talked about our great sponsors here at the Fastest Hour in Radio, Wild Vapors? You want a great reason to give up smoking, to put them aside, to lay aside cigarettes? The fact that just the slightest mistake could cost $10 million in damage.
And if that was the case, of course, this is speculation. You look at the fact of that could have been prevented if you weren't smoking. So we encourage you to quit smoking as well. Put down the cigarettes, go to the healthy alternative with our great friends Eddie and Shelley Bowman down at Wild Vapors in Sylacauga and the Walmart Shopping Center, and in Alexander City at their other location 1 block up from Central Alabama Community College. Knowledgeable staff is going to tell you everything about why you should not be smoking. We talk about their juices all the time. No sucralose, which is those sweeteners that you don't want. No diacetyl, that's that buttery custard vape that everybody puts out that a lot of people don't realize what they're putting in their juices because they couldn't even tell you what's in their juices. They've got other great juices too, and they only carry sucralose and diacetyl free from Moon Mountain Juice, which is actually, that's the name of the company, Juice. And they also carry great flavors like Five Pawns and now carrying Culture as well. They take the time to explain every mod tank juice they sell. They make sure when you walk out the door, everything is working for you. You understand top to bottom, left to right, the entire setup, how everything works. And when you walk out the door, you can officially put your cigarettes down and start vaping that as well. And they don't push you out of the store either. They don't rush you out of the store. They take the time, and they're going to help you pick out the right vaping setup. They're not going to upsell you, and they care about their customers. That's why they started this business. They're former smokers themselves, and they found the way to get it done the proper way. Give them a call today, 256-369-2569. Find them on Facebook.com as well. It's /wild.vapors.5. All kinds of great information they put out. Like I said, 2 locations to serve you, Sylacauga and the Walmart Shopping Center. Alexander City, 1 block up from Central Alabama Community College. 256-369-2569. Stop by and set yourself free. Stay on track with Wild Vapors.
That's good stuff. By the way, Bobby from Roebuck, who called in at the beginning of the show,
yes,
he did mention the fact that this weekend also marks the birthday of Richard the King Petty.
Yes, it is.
Happy birthday to the King.
Happy birthday.
I want to make sure that we do get that in.
Yes.
Darlington Speedway, they got a new president. He is somewhat familiar with NASCAR, as he was a longtime member of the NASCAR communications staff. His name is Kerry Tharp. He also has the title of the former Associate Athletic Director of the University of South Carolina on his resume. He's set to take over for Chip Weil because Weil has moved from Darlington to take over as the president of Daytona International Speedway. He replaces their Joey Chitwood III. Get your scorecards out because otherwise you can't tell.
Yes.
Tharp is officially set to take over day-to-day operations at Darlington July 18th. He'll be leaving his current post of Senior Director of Racing Communications for NASCAR. Chitwood moved up within NASCAR. He actually has moved up from Daytona president to International Speedway Corporation chief operating officer. So he's one of our bosses.
Yes. I'm not. Yeah.
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 Well, I doubt we're going to meet him, but
No.
you know, he's one of our bosses.
Might get lucky.
You never know. Chitwood said of Tharp, quote, "He is very popular with the media. He's also known for a quick wit and a keen sense of humor, and called him the ideal choice to replace Weil at one of NASCAR's cornerstone facilities. Looking forward to that race at Darlington coming up on Labor Day weekend. Going with the throwbacks again, and we've seen some of the preliminaries there. Some pretty good-looking cars coming in.
Yeah, we're going to have some great shirts on that weekend, too, ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait.
so we're ready for it. John, you got to get with the program with that.
Yeah, hurry it up.
Yeah.
No.
Adweek magazine's come out with their list of top 30 women in sports. NASCAR is actually represented by 2 women. Danica Patrick, naturally, is among the top 30. Also, the CEO of International Speedway Corporation, our boss, the big boss, and the vice chairman of NASCAR, Lisa France Kennedy. Their ultimate rankings were not divulged, but the venue is on, or the issue, is on newsstands now. It's the first such list for Ad Week, and it details the women in sports who they say are influential on the fields or tracks, as well as league executives, sports media personalities, and marketing executives as well. So congratulations to NASCAR. That said, if you've been a fan of, or you are or have been a subscriber to NASCAR Illustrated, get ready for some disappointment. American City Business Journals, based out of Charlotte, North Carolina, ironically enough, the parent company of the Full Color magazine and over 40 other print and online newspapers and magazines, says prepare for the end of the magazine. The statement released by the company says that the final issue is currently at press as of Thursday. In 2010, the company merged a title that they'd bought, NASCAR Scene, with their pre-existing NASCAR Illustrated, so that ended that publication's run that had dated back to 1977. NASCAR Illustrated, one of the reasons for shutting it down, the relatively low subscription rate, only 85,000 people subscribed. Still, it's kind of weird to think that a company based out of Charlotte, North Carolina is going to end a NASCAR publication.
I didn't even get a chance to get any subscription to that. I didn't know that was out.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see that, though.
Yeah.
All right. Over to IndyCar, and we'll kind of make a transition here. Indianapolis Motor Speedway President Doug Bowles has announced that they have come up with what they feel is the perfect parting gift for the retiring Tony Stewart. Jeff Gordon last year got a lot of gifts, and some of them fairly unusual. For example, was it Texas that gave him 2 miniature horses?
I believe yes.
I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of that.
I don't think Tony's going to get a pony.
Well, Tony is asked to kind of tone some of that down. This gift, I think he's going to love. Tuesday, IMS officials announced they were going to be giving Stewart his own dirt track, which they're set to build along the inside of Turn 3 at the historic Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Sweet.
It's a very short dirt oval. It measures 3/16 of a mile. Again, short. And they state that it's going to be ready in time for the 3-time champions media tour appearance, which happens this coming Tuesday. They're going to be doing some work.
They actually have it done.
Yeah, and it should be.
It doesn't look done.
No?
It doesn't.
But they say it's done?
Okay. Their version of done and my version of done are two total different things.
I would imagine, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Indianapolis Star newspaper's website reporting several teams in the dirt midget ranks going to be on hand for an exhibition race on July 5th. Bowles added that the track is going to remain after the exhibition and media event, and while he doesn't foresee a lot of races taking place on the dirt oval, he does promise that we'll see action throughout any given year. As for big races like the Indy 500 and Brickyard 400, the track will at that point in time be used in conjunction with infield parking, but they're going to keep the dirt track. It's not just this temporary thing that they're building one time and going, hey, Tony, check this out. By the way, it's going to be gone next year.
See, I would have rather seen them build it outside the track and actually make it a real track that's there.
Yeah, I don't know how you can make it. You can't really build stands. You can put temporary stands there, but you can't put real stands there because otherwise it messes up your sightlines.
Well, from the pictures and when they said, hey, look, the track is done, all it looked like they did was they just came in and poured some dirt and spread it around a little bit, and there's a dirt track. Well, there's no walls, there's no infield to it.
Still work to be done.
There's a lot of work that has to be done to this track, but I would have rather seen them put it outside the track where you get a chance to actually see some great stuff because you only have so much viewing right there.
Well, and I will say this. Many years ago, 20 years ago now, went with a buddy of mine out to the Mopar Nationals, and he's a big Chrysler products guy. So the Mopar Nationals that year was being held in Indianapolis over by the Speedway Park, not by Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but by where there's the road course, the short track, and so on and so forth. It's way out there,
right,
about 15 miles, give or take, away from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Well, we didn't stay near that. He actually, Gary, booked us into the Speedway, Indianapolis Motor Speedway Hotel, which at that point in time, it's no longer in existence, but at that time, it was a hotel that was built and housed right underneath Turn 2 of Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And we could get up and climb up and we could see down through there. Knowing what is around Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it is literally in town. It's in the city.
Yeah.
Ain't a whole lot of room to actually build a dirt track. So I will say that.
I'm about to say, I got the picture up on my screen right now.
Okay.
So I'm going to share it to our Facebook page,
Yeah.
facebook.com/thefastestsirenradio.
Yeah, hopefully they'll get some more work done to it.
I mean, it's got a couple of little walls. It's cute. Don't get me wrong. It's cute. But it just looks like a little practice track that you would put in your backyard. I mean,
Yeah, well, hey, Things change constantly.
There's a lot of
don't they?
complaining going on apparently too.
About a dirt track?
Yeah. Is this open to the public? Indianapolis Motor Speedway responded with no.
No, this is for racing. They're actually going to make this for racers.
Yeah, they're. I'm wondering if he's talking about open to the public, as in they can come watch the racing. I don't.
I would assume so.
I don't think he asked his question properly.
Probably not. Or,
Rogers.
whoever answered from Indianapolis Motor Speedway probably didn't quite understand the way that the guy wanted the question answered.
Yeah. So John Rogers, who asked that, you might want to rephrase that question.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna share it right now, as a matter of fact.
All right. Go over to facebook.com/thefastesthour in radio. You can check it out. Saga of the Boston Grand Prix refunds continuing. Previously, there had been no timetable for the organizers of the now defunct before it ever ran race to get their promised refunds to those who had bought tickets for the planned Labor Day event. However, after an initial round of refunds, the organizers stated they ran out of ready cash. They've been kind of slow in issuing refunds ever since. Talked about that last week. Well, the Massachusetts Attorney General has put pressure on both the race organizers and IndyCar itself to put in a deadline for submitting a plan to the AG's office on a plan of refunding all monies owed. That deadline was as of Tuesday at close of business. We haven't heard anything since then, so we'll find out shortly, hopefully. Multi-series race team owner Chip Ganassi about to be inducted into one of the many halls of fame regarding motorsports. Ganassi had been named as one of the class of 2016 inductees into the Motorsports Hall of Fame of America. There he'll be joined by fellow NASCAR Hall of Famer Richard Childress, NHRA announcer Dave McClelland, and former racer turned broadcaster Sam Posey. Ganassi certainly has earned it. His teams have won 11 open-wheel championships with more than 100 total wins, 5 Indy 500s among them. He also touts 17 NASCAR Cup Series and Xfinity Series wins. He's got a Daytona 500 and a Brickyard 400 win to his credit there among his drivers. He's got 6 Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona overall wins, 7 total Sports Car Series title, and he just added the class win at this year's 24 Hours of Le Mans with the help of Ford's brand new GT. So, hey, Chip Ganassi, no doubt. He's a surefire Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt at all.
Overall in motorsports, yes. In NASCAR, still got some work to do. Again, no title, does have a Daytona 500, does have a Brickyard 400, does have 17 total wins, still missing that championship.
Yes.
So we'll have to see whether he can get that team to work that out. Bernie Ecclestone has announced he's willing to revisit the idea of bonus payments to Formula One teams. And when I saw the breakdown of this a couple of years ago, it's needed because it's based upon annual Formula One revenues. And since the payouts are very unequal, he decided, you know what, maybe it's time to look at it. Current system is two-tiered, and it gives more money to the upper echelon teams who are already making more money based upon their sponsorships. Gives significantly less to those teams who finish 6th or worse in the final Constructors' Cup standings. London Times ran a report last Sunday stated that Ecclestone may scrap the entire system by 2020, which means abandoning some £150 million, or their dollars, in actual payouts to teams. I don't think he's going to abandon that total. I think what he's looking at is probably more of maybe an NFL-style thing, because what the NFL has done is they take the money from the television contracts, and some of it obviously is in the NFL coffers to help them run, but then they divide it out, and it's split evenly among all 32 teams. It doesn't matter whether you won the Super Bowl or you went winless.
Yes. Yeah, so you kind of it's more of a revamp. More of a revamp than a scrap.
I don't think he's going to scrap it. I think he's probably going to revamp the whole thing entirely.
Yeah, he's just going to basically redo it. Well, I don't really feel too good about Ecclestone being the one doing it.
Well, he may not last much longer. Just put it that way.
Fingers crossed.
Either way, should this happen for Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, Williams, they would get hit hard, as could McLaren, because they're included in that upper tier because of their longevity. That said, a newer system not using two tiers likely to take the place of the current system, which has come under the scrutiny and criticism since the folding of the Caterham F1 team following the 2014 season, which also led, by the way, Sauber and Sahara Force India to lodge official complaints with the European Union over the distribution of bonus money. Ecclestone has no timetable set up for a solution to the problem, however, but dude, you're going to have to figure it out soon. You're 88.
Yeah.
With most of the Formula One teams being based in the United Kingdom, many have been peppering Ecclestone with questions about how the recent vote by the UK voters to leave the European Union, otherwise known as Brexit, may affect the sport. Ecclestone said he's confident it's actually going to have no long-term negatives for the sport and feels that it's a good thing for the UK. 8 of the 11 teams on this year's grid actually have their home bases in the United Kingdom, the exception being Mercedes, duh, they're in Germany, Renault, duh, they're in France, and Sahara Force India, which, no, not duh, is housed in India. They're actually based in Austria. Whatever. Ecclestone said of the vote, quote, "I have been a supporter of this all the way through. I think it's the best thing. We should be ruling ourselves." I agree with that, number one.
Yes.
And number two, I also agree that this is going to have no long-term ramifications. For the first 2 days right here in the United States of America, our Dow took a drop of about 1,000 points. Well, guess what? We're back up to the pre-Brexit levels. So we're not worried about it.
I know they were like, oh my God, it's coming to an end.
How old did you say he was?
88.
Wow.
Yeah.
Turning 24 today. My daughter, Savannah.
Happy birthday, Savannah.
You share a birthday with the king.
You should feel very privileged.
You actually should. We'll talk about more Brexit voting when we come back, because guess what? We still got another half an hour to go.
Oh, that's right. We got 30 more
edition
minutes
of the fastest hour in radio.
You're listening to the fastest hour in radio on Superstation 101.
Gentlemen, start your engine.
Let's talk track. No matter how fast you take those turns or speed through the straightaway, you've got to make sure your engine is taken care of, because your health is your engine. You need the healthier alternative to cigarettes. You need Wild Vapors. Wild Vapors is known for their signature formula mixed in an off-site clean room facility for their own brands. They only use the purest vaping juice on the circuit without sucralose or diacetyl. You still get the same satisfaction of smoking without the high health risk of cigarettes. The crew at Wild Vapors knows you're busy on the lead lap and can't always take a pit stop when you need it. That's why they provide you with the best products on the circuit sent directly to you at your garage. That's right, call in your order and they'll send it directly to you. Now that's the type of crew you need for the Brickyard 400. Am I right? So don't be a lug nut short of a full set. Find the healthier alternative to smoking. Make your next pit stop at Wild Vapors of Sylacauga today. 256-369-2569. Find them in the Sylacauga Walmart Shopping Center or their Alexander City location. Stay on track with Wild Vapors.
Tony Stewart wins the Cobalt Tools 400.
This is Tony Stewart here to tell you about a way veterans and service members can get on the fast track to well-deserved benefits. It's called eBenefits, a website created by VA and DoD that gives veterans, service members, and families instant access to more than 40 benefits and services. It's a way to serve those who have served us. To get started, just go to www.ebenefits.va.gov or just do a search for VA eBenefits.
Brought to you by the Department of Veterans Affairs.
The only show that covers NASCAR, Indycar, and Formula One. The fastest hour in radio on Superstation 101.
So, Youth Gone Wild, is that for Savannah?
Of course.
Yeah, okay. Seemed appropriate. Hey, welcome back in. Fastest hour in radio. 2 hours on this Independence Day weekend. Happy Independence Day to everybody.
Yes. And big thanks to everybody who's interacting with us as
yeah,
well.
exactly. We've talked about it. You can call us, 941-1011, or toll free at 866-551-9933. But you can also get a hold of us on Facebook or on Twitter, and you've got some back and forth there.
Yeah, on Twitter, we've got SHR14 fan Mike says, well, Tony Stewart was in rare form in the media center. Had a great time watching him and his dad after the race. So thanks for reaching out to us. I mean, we're getting a lot of stuff going on. We've also, on the Facebook side of things, we've got a couple of things that have been coming across in the past couple of minutes. Robert Lett, you just talked about him a few minutes ago.
Yep, told us about the King.
Well, he actually chimed back in whenever my computer catches up here because it's being slow. But he said, yes, are you guys going to be at Dega in October?
You know
Would
it.
love to visit. Yes, of course.
You know it. We're
always
there
at
with
Dega.
bells on and Talladega Super Speedway shirts
Nah,
on.
we're not going to make it to Talladega. No.
Maybe you won't.
That's sarcasm.
I'm going straight up.
I got that. But hey, if you want to interact with us as well, like we keep putting out there, Facebook.com/TheFastestHourRadio, Twitter @FastestHour, Instagram @FastestHour, and check out all of our replays on YouTube channel, The Fastest Hour in Radio.
Yeah, absolutely love it. When we left you, we were talking about Brexit and how Bernie Ecclestone said that he was in support of it. Not necessarily so much within other Formula One racing organizations. They wanted the vote to be different, and that included McLaren boss Ron Dennis. He penned an editorial for the London Times newspaper arguing for staying racing in the European Union. Dieter Zetsche, who is the boss of Daimler, that's the parent company of Mercedes, after the vote expressed some dismay over the outcome, said that he didn't feel that it was good for the UK or the EU. I think it's fine for the UK, personally, Dieter, so I disagree with you. This is my own personal opinion. I think it's horrible for the EU.
Yeah, it's extremely horrible for them.
Because now all of a sudden it means that we went from 28 down to 27 countries. You got one of the major economies of those 28 that is left, and that means that your Frances and your Germanys still have to pick up the tab for your Spains and your Greases. I'm thinking at some point in time, some of them are going, you know what? I'm not towing the line for them anymore. I'm getting out too.
You know, but the greatest thing is that, you know, when they left, if they would have sent that lady that did the "So You Want to Be a Millionaire" over and say, "You are the weakest link, bye."
Yes. Well, actually, you're combining two different shows, but
is it?
Yeah. There was The Weakest Link, and then there's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Oh, that's right. It is, isn't it?
Duh.
But I saw where you were going.
I watch a lot of TV.
I saw where you were going with that.
Yeah. I was just thinking of that little lady.
All the complaining by Dieter Zetsche, and then he wraps up his comments by saying this, quote, "With regard to Daimler, we don't expect any immediate impact." Then shut up.
Well, fine.
I mean, if you don't think that there's going to be any immediate impact, what do you care?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think people are they're overreacting, they're overthinking. They just have to say something.
I guess.
They have to be on record saying something as stupid as he did.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much, yes.
Meanwhile, the business of Formula One continues. Mercedes boss, racing boss anyway, Niki Lauda told media that current points leader Nico Rosberg slated to sign a 2-year extension to his contract with Mercedes. Over the past weekend, Lauda surprised the Rosbergs at Nico's wife's German ice cream parlor. Who knew they could have one of those over there? It's called Vivi's Creamery. Rosberg was celebrating his 31st birthday. So, wow, birthdays all over the place.
Yeah.
Following the visit between the Rosbergs and the Laudas, because Nicky brought his wife along as well, Lauda told media, quote, "We are quite agreed on a new 2-year contract. The details have yet to be worked out." How are you agreed on a 2-year contract if you ain't got the details worked out? Either way. When asked if it was meant as a birthday present, Lauda only smiled and said, "No, he's earned it." Funny thing is Nico Rosberg himself on Wednesday said, "Hey, cool it with all the, hey, I've signed this whole thing. I haven't quite agreed 100% yet."
Ooh, deception among the ranks.
Indeed.
Righto.
Another driver definitely going to be staying where he is, because we found news that Carlos Sainz has signed a contract extension with Toro Rosso. Red Bull Racing head Christian Horner said that Sainz has signed a deal. It's going to keep him with the Red Bull sister company's stable through next season at least. Sainz had an option on his contract that the company could either pick up or deny. Horner said the company chose to put Sainz's mind at ease about his future by giving him the boost of keeping him at the junior team at least through another year. The other drivers in the Red Bull Toro Rosso stable, which are Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen, who drive for Red Bull, and Daniel Kvyat, who's, despite being traded out for Max Verstappen between Red Bull and Toro Rosso earlier this year, are all signed through 2018. Horner said that he is pleased that the team has the stability of knowing they have their drivers long-term relatively. We've talked about the benefits of that, especially when it comes to these younger drivers, and all of these drivers are young. Max Verstappen is 18, for crying out loud.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all young. You have that stability. They're wanting to get back to the upper echelons that they remember so well with Sebastian Vettel 3 years ago plus. That's one of the better ways to do it. You grow as your young drivers grow.
Yes, and Verstappen's got that win this year as well.
Yes, he does.
So,
yeah. So, to me, it means good things.
It does.
We're now going to have to find out whether they can work with Renault on the right engine package to get them up there with the Mercedes and the Ferraris.
Yeah,
that's another question.
That is like night and day. That's going to be extremely difficult to and take a long time.
We've talked in the past about Goodyear and NASCAR working together to try and tell teams, hey, listen, pay attention to what Goodyear is telling you when it comes to air pressures.
Yeah.
We've never heard that when it came to Formula One until now.
Yeah.
The FIA handed down new rules to Formula One Series officials go into effect this weekend at the Austrian Grand Prix. The new rules deal with air pressures in the Pirellis. The officials have been told to now check the air pressure on the tires before they go on the race cars. And you think to yourself, what in the world could that have to do with anything? Well, remember how high-tech Formula One is.
Yeah.
Up until now, the air pressure measurements were being made with the tires on the cars, but there's been suspicion that some Formula One teams have been cheating the system a bit.
No.
By, get this, preheating the hub/brake assembly to instantly heat up the tires, therefore increasing the tire pressure in the short term.
Who thinks up this stuff? I mean, what guy, a conspiracy theorist that is in Formula One, is thinking of these things?
Yeah, under the suspicion, it means that the tires then meet Formula One and FIA regulations for air pressure. in the short term while the measurements are initially made. When the hubs cool, the temps and hence the air pressure then goes back down, which enhances the car's performance because being a little bit flatter tire, a little bit more traction, there you go. So the new rules, they're in effect for all practice sessions, for qualifying, and for the beginning of each event. In addition, the test is going to be put in place for practice sessions only at the upcoming British Grand Prix, where Formula One officials are going to monitor the tire blanket temperatures that teams, ensuring that the teams don't heat up the tires excessively just before putting them on the cars. That's something that has been in practice for some years now, and they state they only are going to put it in for the practice sessions because they just want to see how it will affect the cars while they're on the track. They say that they may back off of that if it turns out that it really is not a good thing.
So once they institute this, I'm guessing if Mercedes drops like a rock, we know why.
Or if Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg immediately slam into walls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting the funny feeling, hey, if you want to turn up the blankets from 100 to 200 Fahrenheit or Celsius, whatever, knock yourself out.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've already had one hit the wall this weekend.
Yeah, Nico Rosberg did a bad job, and it's going to cost him.
Yes. Yeah, actually it will. I wasn't ready for that. My bad. There we go. So during practice, he's going to have to change a gearbox. They had a really, really bad wreck out there at Spielberg. He's going to be fitted with a new gearbox ahead of qualifying, but he is going to be joining Sebastian Vettel in taking a 5-place penalty into Sunday's race because that Ferrari driver was also forced for an unscheduled gearbox change when metal filings were found in his unit following the Grand Prix in Baku.
Yeah, that's never good. You don't want metal filings in your transmission.
Horrible wreck for Rosberg out there, and the video
wadded up the car pretty good.
Oh, it's tires are not facing the way they're supposed to.
That's not good.
When you flip the tires around, they don't. The car doesn't tend to run like it should.
No, it really doesn't.
So it's not been a good weekend thus far for practice. That was final practice too.
Yeah,
and they are working hard. And as a matter of fact, Mercedes said the guys are in the garage working flat out to make sure that Nico Rosberg can take part in qualifying for F1 in Austria.
Going to be happening later on today. Over to the NHRA, and if you're a big fan of the Discovery Channel show Street Outlaws, the name Justin Big Chief Shearer might be familiar to you. I have to admit, I've never really watched the show.
Yep, me neither.
Meanwhile, Shearer is set to work with the NHRA on a series of public service announcements that are set to air soon. They encourage drag racing at NHRA-sanctioned dragways and not on public streets. It's a good idea. PSA aired beginning last weekend on the NHRA At the Track screen. It's also going to be included on Fox Sports 1's live coverage of the finals for the rest of the 2016 season events beginning next weekend when they're in Chicago. So I don't know if they're going to do a radio version, but if they do, I'll be more than happy to put it on the air right here.
Yeah.
Because it's wise. I mean, when I was 16 years old and dumber, I did red light to red light racing through Hoover. Sorry,
I was almost waiting for the Scooby Doo, like the
yeah, no. I did it, and you know what? It was a pretty dang stupid thing for me to do.
But it's a learning experience, Steve.
Sure. We'll go with that. V. Gaines, who is a longtime NHRA Pro Stock racer, has announced he is retiring, effective now. Gaines released a statement, said that he was grateful for the time that he had in the sport and the relationships he's made along the way. Finished his retirement announcement with the words, quote, "This decision is purely based on the fact that the fun has left this chapter in life."
How are people not having as much fun anymore?
"We are thankful," he continued on in his statement, "for all the support from our friends, fans, and family, and most of all from Kendall Motor Oil, his sponsor. During his time in the Pro Stock ranks, V. Gaines racked up 4 event wins." There you go.
You know what? He just needs to win, and then he'll have more fun.
Ain't going to happen because guess what? He ain't going to be in the car no more. V. Gaines.
Yep.
Out. Retired. What do you think about that, late model Mark?
Or maybe
I would ask late model Mark, but we had to wait for him to be actually, put on hold. We got his intro music here ready and prepared. Here we go. Late model Mark. So we have a retirement effective immediately in the Pro Stock ranks. V. Gaines has left the building. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm waiting for my song to end.
Oh, okay.
He's feeling very regal right now. He's probably all popped up in his seat.
Yes.
Yes, V. Gaines, it's a bummer that he's left the Pro Stock ranks. He's just not having any fun. He hasn't won a round this year. I'm sure he's sick and tired of chasing Anderson in line all the time, just like the rest of the Pro Stock field. It's not very good for the car count.
We
And
were
he's a
talking
great
about that
guy.
earlier. Jason Line, over second place, he's got a 116-point lead, and he's got 500-plus point lead over third, fourth, and fifth place. It's amazing how he's run away with this.
Yes, it's they're starting to get to Bob Glidden numbers on this deal. But with B. Gaines, he has what I think the most incredible hauler you would ever see as far as the vinyl wrap. It'll take you about 40 minutes to walk around, and you still can't see it all. But that's a tough deal. But I just saw, oh, wait a minute, let me pull over. Okay, I pulled over. I got out of my chip truck. I'm on my hands and knees with my hands in the prayer position, begging and praying for more short track coverage.
It's coming
on your show.
It's coming.
Well, here it's 8:45.
It's coming.
And no,
it's
no,
coming.
Can you hear the boos from the crowd when
It's
they're talking
coming.
about Lisa Kennedy?
It's coming.
Hey, late model Mark, we have the dirt report now.
Yeah, I've been in and out of the truck, and I heard that you were doing that.
We are going to do it.
Yeah, we have the dirt report coming up.
Yep, it's coming.
I got to dog you guys just a little bit because it's too much fun. But
Yeah, I'll tell you what. You can set the order when you come up with the rundown. Okay.
Sounds like a winner. I'm going to be bringing some people in a couple weeks. We'll make the arrangements.
Love it.
Here. I got some good ones for you.
Love it.
It's just so busy right now that I can't even.
Oh, I can imagine.
I got home at 2:00 last night, and I got up at 4, and I'm working. So
you basically you got a nap.
Yeah, pretty much so. We had our Neesmith Crate Lay Model National Series come in to Talladega Short Track last night.
Now this is
And
part of a
it was little bit
2-night event, right?
No, just ours is one night. They run tonight at Penton and Sunday night at East Alabama Motor Speedway. But it was some event. Corey Hedgecock from Tennessee, who's been very, very hot. He's got like 8 wins. He led the thing for 20 laps, and then Riley Hickman out of Tennessee passed him and won it. And then promptly after Riley Hickman got out of his car after winning the crate race, he went and hopped in a super late model and dominated the 30-lap super late model all green event. So he doubled up last night. But the thing I wanted to talk to you guys about before I got to go, because I'm heading back to the store. Last night we had a really bad situation in the hot shot division. Driver of the number hot shot, number 86, Joshua Lackey, did a Greg Louganis triple Lindy off of turns 1 and 2 and crashed really bad, and he was taken out in the hospital, and I do not know his condition. And we stopped the program. It was about 12:15. They had about 4 more laps to go, and we cut the program because we were going to be shy an ambulance for about an hour, and it was late, and it was hot.
Wow.
And it was just a rough deal. So when I get some news on his condition, maybe I'll tell you next week. But we had a great
What was the name one more time?
fireworks show.
What's his name again?
What's his name again? One more time.
Joshua Lackey.
Joshua Lackey.
Our thoughts and our
Right,
prayers
number
going out
8.
to he and his family, no doubt.
Yeah, it was an ugly crash to say the least. When you go flying off the banking, and we call it the frog pond in turn 2, it's just an ugly situation. But I'm looking forward to being off tonight. I'm staying home, going to watch Daytona with some adult beverages and good food and the misses, and I'm ready to go. And as usual, guys, great show, what I've heard this morning, and thanks for having the show and having me on. And don't mind if I complain too much about the lack of short track racing.
It just makes us step it up a little bit more just for you, Mark.
That's right.
Please, there's so many special events in the South. Penton tonight. There's Duck River, Thunder Hill, North Georgia, Sonoya, Cochran, Wynot, Magnolia, Sayre. They've all got special events this weekend. There's plenty of short track stuff. God bless you guys. I got to go back to work to throw the chips on the shelf.
Get him up there, brother, and go get you some rest, okay?
Take care, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you real soon. And he's right. We talk about it, and there are tracks, again, we can't name them all.
Yeah, I was about to say, I need to have a little chit-chat with my buddy C.W. Stanton down there at Penton, because that's where they're racing tonight for the second part of this series that was racing at Talladega Short Track last
night. So there's
night.
the two-parter aspect of it.
Clint, I'm calling you out. You didn't call us and let us know this.
Yeah.
So I expect a phone call next week from you concerning tonight's action.
Yep. So, good stuff all around the area. You mentioned Penton. There's Arkadelphia. There's Fort Payne. There's Green Valley. There's Shelby County. There's
Huntsville.
There's Montgomery. There's Sayre. And that, again, that's just in this area, and that's not an entirely inclusive list. And, he mentioned Sonoya, which is just over into Georgia, which is a great place to go. I've seen many, many races over there. You go over to Magnolia and Wynot over in Mississippi.
Ringgold over in Georgia. You got Moulton over in Georgia.
Anytime you're headed down to the coast, don't forget about it. Mobile Speedway, got Five Flags in Pensacola, among others. There's a lot of great racing in this area, and that's just this area. That's not not an entirely.
We could actually. This is no joke. We could, if you actually go to and look at every track, we could do a rundown.
We could take a day.
We could take an entire. Well, this would. Just kind of going through the top 3, say so to speak.
Okay.
We could hit in an hour. We could probably hit all of the tracks.
Maybe
in Alabama that we could probably reach at the moment.
Maybe. I wouldn't guarantee it.
Very maybe, considering we're nationwide.
That's true.
Yeah, because then
you'd have to list every track in Alabama.
That's what I'm saying. If we tried to get every single track of the people that listen to us, we couldn't get it done in 24 hours.
We would need a 24-hour dirt channel.
I'm not sure we could get it done in 24 hours.
We need a 24-hour dirt channel.
Is that what we need?
That's what we need.
You paying for it?
No. Great sponsors
sell mud pies
that are out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Sign up now.
Yeah. So stay close. We're going to get to that dirt report here momentarily.
Yes.
But 10 minutes to go. We want to wrap up what else we got. 2 years ago, we detailed kind of a point system that the FIA instituted to determine who can and cannot qualify for a Formula One super license. The FIA has amended that system to include their upstart Formula E all-electric car series into that point system. Along with the Australian V8 supercars for Formula E teams and drivers, they have the same weight for their time in the series as does IndyCar, World Endurance Championship, and European Formula 3 drivers. So it's kind of interesting to note. You can get 30 of the 40 needed points if you win your championship in Formula E, IndyCar, or World Endurance Championship. And again, you need 40 points to get an F1 license, super license. So that's not bad.
No.
If you happen to be down into the Australian V8 supercars and you win the championship down there, you only get 13 points.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah. And by the way, they don't include NASCAR in that. So apparently NASCAR is not under the FIA sanctioning body.
Ooh.
And I don't think they care.
Now.
Right. 2016-2017 lineup for entries in the FIA Formula E Series released officially yesterday in time for the end of the series' second season. While the regular teams will be on hand, your ABT, Schaeffler, Audi Sports, Andretti Formula E, DS Virgin Racing, Mahindra, Renault Edams, Venturi Formula E, they're all going to be back. You have new or revamped teams that now include Dragon Racing, which is teamed up with a company called Faraday Future for the now new Faraday Future Dragon Racing. Trying to put that on a business card.
That's a long name.
There's Jaguar Racing, which comes in next week, or if you're British, Jaguar. Next have NIO, and there's something called Tashida. Never heard of them before.
Tashida.
In all, 10 teams employing 2 cars each, 20 total entries will be running next year. Andretti Formula E has announced that they know who's going to be driving one of their 2 cars. They have re-signed Dutch driver Robin Freins for next year. He's been in the championship points for each race this year. In other words, he's finished top 10 every single race. Got a best finish of 3rd in the earlier Putrajaya E-Prix, and his performance has the organization rather confident that they will be able to use this season to jump to kind of a top tier next year. So hopefully that will work out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so there we go. There's our rundown of the main stuff that we usually talk about here. All of our major sanctioning bodies, all of our major series that we talk about, from Sprint Cup to Camping World and Xfinity, IndyCar, Formula One, Formula E, NHRA. We had a bit of news there, and we still have
covered all.
A good amount of time to be able to talk about dirt track. And a lot of it, understand right now we're still growing into this and getting used to it and finding where all the information comes. So it's somewhat limited in scope.
Yeah.
For our friends at Talladega Short Track, but again, we're expanding out.
I would have to go out and be there every single weekend.
We continue to
full.
expand out. So
Yes,
let's talk
we do.
a little bit about what happened last weekend out at Talladega Short Track.
That's right. Last weekend at the Hornets' Nest, started off in the Sportsman division. You got Chris Beck of Cedar Bluff, Alabama, collected his first Talladega Short Track stock car win in the Sportsman division. Second place went to Shane Criswell. Third place went to Nick Deweese. Fourth was taken by Brandon Brown, and fifth place went to Bubba Lackey, who was on a rocket ship a couple weeks back, but he was in a borrowed ride after his B-17 had mechanical problems. So there was that one. Chris Beck, congratulations to him.
Yeah.
Got a chance to see a couple of the pictures out there on his Facebook page. He follows the show, I believe, too. Over to Crate Late Models, Cruz Skinner. How many times does this name come up? Cruz Skinner collects yet another win out there at the Hornets' Nest. Second was Dylan Tidmore. Third place went to Adam Gaulden. Fourth went to Eric Cooley. And fifth went to Dustin Knighton. Stepping it up to the super late models, Jason Height took his freestyle graphics special to the winner's circle after he won the War Between the States Mississippi State Championship Super Late Model event. That was that special event out there at Talladega Short Track. He was also the fastest qualifier, and he had a sizable lead throughout most of that 50-lap event. Todd Morrow ran well for a second-place finish. Cruz Skinner pulling double duty, comes home third. Eric Cooley fourth, and Tim Rozelle, last year's champion in the Super Late Models, was fifth. Into the Thundercar Series, that was won by Justin Angle in his D-Ford-sponsored ride. Joseph Champion nailed down the second place. Jared Gray took third. Kevin Walls and Gene Norman, that rounds out your top five for the Thundercar division. Neesmith Street Stocks, you got Steve Pate grabs yet another victory at the Talladega Short Track in his May trucking machine. Jay Hutchison had a great run as well, comes home second. Billy Wilkins ran well. He comes home third. Corey Correct comes home fourth, and Jeremy Isabel comes home fifth. And then the last but not least, I think is always one of the greatest races of the entire evening, is the Hot Shot division. We just heard about that from Late Model Mark about last night with the Hot Shots. But the Right Way Auto Sales Hot Shot winner last weekend, our good friend Garrett Lloyd. He was followed by Preston Cooley. Third went to Logan McVeigh. Fourth went to Jesse Atkins, and Chase McAvoy was fifth. There were a few tempers, as some of the participants got a little flared up after some contact on the track. A couple black flags came out, and additionally a visit to the race director's office. No further details on that. But always great action out there at Talladega Short Track. Check them out. Every Saturday night, they usually have something going on. This weekend, last night was their events instead of tonight.
Got called to the principal's office.
I was going to say, never a good thing when you get called to the office.
And that usually happens in the Hot Shots division. We've seen some.
We've seen it.
I'm going to call it right out now. We've seen some stupid people out there on that track at times. When you come out and you intentionally nail somebody on the track, that's bad.
Yeah, I mean, pulling a Days of Thunder in real life, it doesn't work. In the movies, it's fine. In real life, no. But not a good thing.
But that's the Dirt Report from the Talladega Short Track last week for June 25th. Next week we'll have more.
Yeah, and again, we're not going to sit here and tell you that we know every single track that's around.
No.
We know that we don't.
Oh, I'll be the first one to tell you.
Yeah. So wherever you live, and I don't care whether you're listening to us on 101.1 FM or 95.3 FM or 1260 AM or 101WIDE.com or the Superstation 101 app or on TuneIn or if you caught us on ham radio. I don't care. I don't care if you're a Martian that happened to catch one from 8 years ago. It doesn't matter to me. Do a search on your favorite search engine, whatever that may be, and look around for local tracks in your area. Mm-hmm. And you may be surprised to find out that there's one a heck of a lot closer than what you think.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you can go online, you can look up all the information, you can find tracks all around you. So it's just go to Google.
Yeah, I mean, we're constantly finding out about all different kinds of tracks all over the place. Arkadelphia is one that we were recently alerted to, and that was a lot of fun to find out about that. Just within the listening area of this rather massively large signal, which covers the entire northern half of the state of Alabama, gets into Tennessee, Mississippi, and Georgia parts of anyway, I couldn't even hazard a guess as to how many tracks are in that area, whether they're asphalt or dirt. It doesn't matter.
No. There's so many tracks. And the thing is, I pass tracks. I mean, there's a track out in Childersburg that's been closed for, I guess, a long time.
Yeah, I've seen the sign and then the weeds that overgrow it. And I actually took the time to then go on, Google Earth, the satellite view?
Yeah.
And looked at it. And it's just
around.
this big field, and all of a sudden there's this track right in the middle of nowhere.
There's one out there on Speedway Boulevard heading towards the Talladega Super Speedway and the short track. On the right-hand side, there's that little track over there.
It's a little itty-bitty area over here.
There's a little tiny thing.
There's all kinds of stuff that's around that you may not have ever known about. And here's the thing. The vast majority of them are out there. They're running on a regular basis. Some of them need refurbishment. We've talked about...
Some of them need love. They just need some love,
they just need some love. They need some time out there. And... we say that about all different kinds of levels. I mean, we've talked about North Wilkesboro, quite frankly.
Yeah, we've talked about North Wilkesboro. We've talked about Rockingham getting some love.
At least Rockingham looks good now.
Yeah, North Wilkesboro
is
awful.
Unfortunately, it is so dilapidated. I'd love to see somebody come in and do something with that facility. I don't know what kind of racing you'd get there, quite frankly, but I think if you came up with a really, really nice facility, kind of like what Rockingham did about a decade ago, I think you could pull the Camping World Truck Series and get NASCAR racing back there.
And it would be great because then you see those tracks that, that we grew up watching.
Sure.
Remembering all the great action on at all these places, but then seeing them come back to life. that would be just an amazing thing to see North Wilkesboro. There's a heartbeat back there again.
Yeah, and again, we talked about it earlier on in the show, how Brian France was asked during the pre-race last weekend before Sonoma's event about what was he fearful of losing the people that he is losing. He lost Jeff Gordon. He's losing Tony Stewart. Your Matt Kenseths, your Greg Biffles, your Dale Earnhardt Juniors. They're all in their 40s.
They're hitting it.
And they've been long-time racers here, and sooner rather than later, they're going to be stepping out of those cars.
But if we've got...
Is he worried about the youth infusion? No, he's not.
No, he's not.
Because he knows that you come down to a level like a Talladega Short Track or a Pinton or a Moulton or a Green Valley or a Fort Payne or a Huntsville or a Montgomery, that there is so much talent there.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody knows about them until they start getting up into those bigger ranks. You can know about them now before they hit it big.
And we're seeing it. We're seeing Ryan Blaney. We're seeing Chase Elliott. We're seeing that young infusion of guys. We're seeing other guys. Look at Daniel Suarez.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of great guys. William Byron coming up. They're coming.
Yep. Be ready for us. And by the way, be ready for us when we do the after the show show. It's going to be a little delayed this week, but you know what? It's going to be coming. We'll give you some predictions for this weekend's racing. We'll talk to you again next week.
See ya!